What if one tragic moment could turn the greatest hero into the deadliest tyrant? That's exactly what happens in Injustice Year 1. Hi everyone, welcome back to Panelix, your go-to channel for deep dives into comic universes and epic storylines. Injustice: Gods Among Us. Year 1 is a DC Comics series written by Tom Taylor that takes us into an alternate universe where Superman becomes a dictator after a devastating tragedy. The story follows Superman's descent from hero to tyrant and Batman's struggle to stop him, while the Justice League is forced to choose sides in a world turned upside down. This series is the starting point of the Injustice comic universe, which continues into Year 2 and beyond, and is based on the events of the popular Injustice: Gods Among Us video game. In this video, we'll break down the full story of Year 1, examining key events, character arcs, and the shocking twists that set the stage for the entire Injustice saga. So stick around, hit that like button, and let's dive deep into Injustice Year 1 full story. Present day. On a dark night in Gotham, Batman is seen perched alone on an ornamental statue at the edge of a building. Now Gotham has fallen silent. The night is no longer haunted by the sounds of evil. Children are no longer awakened by the sudden eruption of gunfire. And there are no more screams in the darkness. There was no screeching of tires on asphalt, no wailing of sirens chasing desperate men and women through narrow streets. Gotham had become a city of silence, and that was what Batman had always dreamed of. But there was one thing that tore at his heart, and Batman thought it was not a beautiful dream, but an aberration, a nightmare that plagued Gotham. Silence is not a sign of peace, but a sign of endless fear, a silence broken only by the sound of soldiers marching, the sound of the feet of a dictator's army. Now the world is ruled by the Iron Fist. He is the Man of Steel. 5 years ago. A young man faster than a bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, and with super hearing that outshone everything else, woke up that night to one of the best voices he had ever heard. He was Clark Kent, aka Superman. Lois, who was beside him at the time, also woke up and asked Clark what had woken him up. Clark looked at Lois's beautiful face while listening to the sound of the heartbeat of two people in one body. It seemed that Lois was pregnant with Clark's child, and it touched his heart deeply. Clark then got out of bed and babbled to Lois about the future of the baby. He said that they had to check everything, and he would contact people from Star Labs because there were people he considered wise in it. Lois tried to call out to Clark, who was busy babbling, but he didn't hear her and continued babbling. Clark explained that he and Lois should move from Metropolis to Smallville because he thought it was a good place to take care of children. And Lois finally lost her temper and threw a book at Clark's head. He immediately stopped babbling and looked at Lois and said, "Did you just throw a book at me?" Annoyed, Lois replied, "You're invulnerable. I should be able to throw satisfyingly hard objects at you sometimes." Lois then approached Clark and said that she was happy that their child would have a bright future, but that Clark should stop thinking about it so much. For now, Lois just wanted to enjoy her time with Clark. But their intimacy had to stop when Lois's cell phone rang. Lois said that there would be a crime at the docks that night. She had to hurry to get there. Clark wanted to go with Lois, but Lois joked that Clark was only going with her because she was pregnant, because Clark had never been this protective of Lois before. She also joked that the aliens had come to Earth to reproduce and he'd found the most beautiful woman in the world to do the job. Lois didn't want to sit around and get fat for 9 months while Clark fought a deadly crime. She also suggested that Clark keep an eye on her, using his X-ray vision combined with a telescope so he could keep an eye on Lois. Clark's eyes were immediately drawn to something. He sensed another crime somewhere. Shortly after they finally decided to go their separate ways and sort things out, Lois said she was going with her partner Jimmy because she needed evidence of the crime. They finally kissed, and with a sweet smile, Lois told Clark, "Go save the world." Clark in his Superman costume went to the crime scene. There was his best friend, Bruce Wayne, aka Batman. Bruce was busy beating up the criminals while Superman was casually watching the show. Clark asked Bruce what he was doing in Metropolis, and Bruce replied that he was on his way to Star Labs because something sensitive had been stolen. Clark said that Bruce should have brought him along, but Bruce was silent. After watching the show, Clark took Bruce upstairs to talk. When Clark started to say something, Bruce cut him off by saying, "Lois is pregnant." Clark was surprised to hear this because how could he know his secret? But as we know, Batman is a smart detective. He can sense that his best friend is in a nervous state by the sweating, the dilated pupils, and the shaking left hand. Bruce can also sense the stress and anxiety associated with Superman. The last time Clark was scared was when he met Doomsday, but Bruce was sure it wasn't Doomsday who scared him this time, because Clark was also grinning like an idiot. Meanwhile, Lois and her partner Jimmy waited for their target at the docks. Jimmy doubted the arrival of the board member who was their target, but Lois convinced Jimmy to wait for this person. Jimmy said irritably, "You know, if I had an hour's sleep for every anonymous tip we have followed to nothing, I'd be a much well-rested person." Lois, seeing someone on the dock, immediately told Jimmy to get the camera ready. A person in a coat and fedora hat appeared in front of them. Lois questioned the person's appearance because he didn't look like a council member at all. As Jimmy was about to take a picture, the shadow of a gunman appeared in the middle of his lens, a gun pointed at his camera. On the other hand, Batman and Superman were still talking on the roof of the building. Clark said that he wanted Bruce to be his child's godfather, but Bruce didn't seem to care. Clark then smiled at Bruce and said that he looked surprised. Clark could tell by the sound of Bruce's heartbeat. Immediately, Bruce's expression changed to a smile, as he was happy to hear that. Back at the dock, a bullet went through Jimmy's camera and shattered his head, and Lois, shocked to see it, screamed Jimmy's name. "You! I got some Jimmy on my shoe," the man who shot Jimmy said as he smiled broadly, then took off his hat and surprised Lois. It turned out to be the Joker, and he was accompanied by his girlfriend, Harley Quinn. He smiled horribly at Lois, who could only sit there in fear. "Hi, Lois." After chatting with Batman, Superman went to the dock to check on Lois's condition, but unfortunately, Lois had disappeared from the scene, leaving only Jimmy lying lifeless. This shocked Clark. He tried to call Jimmy's name, but there was no response. Apparently, the Joker had shot Jimmy's camera through his head. Next to Jimmy's body is a card with the Joker's picture on it, and Clark assumes that the Joker is responsible. Meanwhile, at Star Labs, Batman is seen investigating a case, but it looks like only a few small things were stolen. Nothing serious happened. Bruce found out they were experimenting with kryptonite, which is why they didn't call Superman for this case. They wanted to test if the stone could be used as an energy source or a cure for diseases. They have no intention of hurting anyone, especially Superman, because they are just ordinary scientists. But it seems that the experimental object was stolen, and the one who stole it is a monster. There were also many corpses lying in a horrible state, and Bruce emphasized that he wanted a list of people who knew the existence of kryptonite, and no one was allowed to leave the place. Suddenly, Superman entered the room very quickly, seeming to teleport into the presence of a Batman. With a panicked look on his face, Clark said that he couldn't find Lois. Bruce tried to calm Clark down, but he seemed very panicked by the incident, handing him a card with the Joker's face on it and saying that this was all the work of Batman's nemesis. Clark then asked Gotham's greatest detective, Batman, for help in finding his lover's whereabouts. Superman then set out to find Lois's whereabouts, while Batman contacted all members of the Justice League to search Metropolis for missing women. When Green Arrow heard the news, he was confused because Batman had ordered all members of the Justice League to find the whereabouts of just one woman. Batman also said that the Joker was the mastermind behind the woman's disappearance. Elsewhere, Cyborg, who was seen fighting criminals, was also confused by Batman's words, asking who the woman was he was referring to. Batman then said that she was one of them and that her name was Lois Lane. Elsewhere, Wonder Woman seemed to recognize Lois. Batman went on to say that Lois was last seen at a dock in Metropolis, telling them to look there for signs of the Joker or Lois. The Flash, relaxing, immediately put on his costume and went to where Batman was when his name was called. Batman ordered Flash to search every nook and cranny of the city for Lois, while Superman searched from above and Flash searched where Superman couldn't see. Flash then explored all the underground facilities such as sewers, basements, and others. When Batman was about to tell all the members of the Justice League to report immediately, Flash arrived and reported the strange events he had found and invited Batman to join him. Flash began to embrace Batman awkwardly and took him away quickly, and Batman told him to run faster so that no one could see them. After arriving, Batman entered a lab similar to Star Labs. Inside was a man holding a bottle with the Star Labs logo. He is Crane, aka Scarecrow, one of Batman's enemies. Elsewhere, Wonder Woman reports her current status by saying that she found a man on the dock. The man tried to run away from Wonder Woman, but she managed to catch him. Wonder Woman then told the man to tell Batman directly where the Joker was. Then he said that the Joker and other female clowns had hijacked a submarine and left the Metropolis dock. Superman immediately pursued them by flying over the sea, using his X-ray vision to find the submarine. After finding it, he immediately went into the sea and lifted the submarine out, then placed it on the beach and immediately made an opening to enter the submarine. Inside, he found the Joker and Harley Quinn dressed in medical scrubs and masks, about to perform surgery on Lois. Seeing this, Superman immediately untied Lois's body and tried to revive her, but Clark was unaware that the room was filled with a green gas that was affecting his consciousness. When he inhaled large amounts of the gas, he began to feel dizzy and hallucinate. He also heard a voice calling his name, Superman. Suddenly, Clark is surprised to see Doomsday in front of him, calling Superman's name. Now Superman's fear suddenly reappears in front of him. After inhaling the gas that made him hallucinate, Superman, believing that Doomsday was standing before him, took up a position to protect Lois and her child from Doomsday, while the Joker and Harley Quinn just watched. Clark yelled, "Stay away from them!" and immediately took Doomsday into the sky. Joker then asked Harley Quinn to leave the submarine. Harley Quinn protested that this was her first submarine, and now she had to leave it just like that. But Joker promised that they would get it again, but Harley Quinn still insisted on not leaving the submarine. Joker immediately grabbed Harley Quinn's hand and said that the Justice League would soon arrive and find out their plans, and that they would be severely beaten if they were found. Joker told Harley Quinn to say goodbye to the submarine, then Harley Quinn said, "Goodbye, Gunner," to the submarine as she was forcibly pulled by Joker to leave. But suddenly, a green hand pinned them to the ground, stopping their escape plan. Gunter is a terrible name for a submarine, the Green Lantern said, as he used his power ring to stop them. The Justice League arrived to arrest the crazy lovers, soon followed by Batman, carried by the Flash. Joker immediately greeted Batsy and said, "Wait a minute, did the Flash carry you here?" This made Joker laugh, and he taunted Batman by saying, "Strike fear in the hearts of criminals, while his red shining friend carries him through the night." But Batman ignored Joker's words and immediately tried to enter the submarine. But Batman immediately realized that Scarecrow's fear gas had spread inside. He immediately told Flash to stop and finally entered himself. Batman observed the situation in the sub but found nothing, then asked Joker where Lois was. Meanwhile, Wonder Woman offers her lasso of truth to make Joker honest, but Batman declines the offer, knowing the lasso will not work on Joker. Joker tries to test Batman's detective skills to solve the mystery, and Batman asks Joker what he did to Lois. He replied that Lois had been put into an explosive device. Then Batman told Flash to check if the warhead on the submarine was still there or had disappeared. But Joker told Batman not to bother checking, because when Lois's heart stopped, so did the hearts of everyone in Metropolis. Batman began to suspect that the Scarecrow's fear gas had been mixed with kryptonite, so that the gas had entered Superman's bloodstream through his lungs, creating Superman's greatest fear, Doomsday. Batman then saw Superman in the sky flying with someone. Batman tried to contact Superman, but he still seemed to be under the influence of the gas, and he flew into space, carrying Doomsday away from the people he cared about. Meanwhile, Batman did not stop trying to make the Man of Steel realize that what he was carrying was not Doomsday. Batman said that it was all an illusion, until finally Superman woke up from his hallucinations and stopped flying. The Joker said with a smug smile, "Did you know she was pregnant?" Batman, who could not stand Joker's stupid joke, punched him hard in the face until he fell. Superman, coming out of his hallucination, saw Lois floating in space, and that's when both heartbeats in one person stopped. Clark's face showed a very surprised and regretful expression. He was so devastated that tears began to fall from the Man of Steel's eyes. And boom! The Joker's plan to blow up the entire city of Metropolis using submarine missiles finally succeeded. A massive explosion that reduced Metropolis to ashes. The Joker, along with Harley Quinn, looked proud of his accomplishment, while the Justice League could do little and watched from afar. The Joker had taken everything from Superman, his wife, his unborn child, and his entire city, all gone. Now drowning in a sea of grief and shrouded in guilt, his life now meaningless, he could only hold Lois's body with regret. Even Batman couldn't understand why the Joker would do such a despicable thing. He interrogated the Joker and asked him why he did it, but the Joker didn't seem to show any remorse. He casually said that his reason for doing such a heinous thing was the same as when he killed a puppy with a kitten. He just did it for fun. Batman pulled Joker's shirt collar and asked him why he had done this to Superman, because all this time Joker had only had problems with Batman. Joker said that this time he had crossed the line by playing with the Man of Steel. Joker explained that when he played with Batman, he always lost until he got bored of losing. So this time, he tried the easy mode. And sure enough, it was very easy for Joker to manipulate Superman. With a mischievous smile, Joker said, "It was as easy as beating a puppy to death with a kitten." Meanwhile, the other members of the Justice League secure the remaining citizens of the city. Green Lantern uses his power ring to save civilians, while Flash runs around the city looking for anyone else who can be saved. Green Lantern also asks Flash about Superman's whereabouts, and he replies that Superman is most likely still in Metropolis. Green Lantern asks Flash if he tried to talk to Superman, but Flash replies that Superman's communication device died when he entered the blast zone. Flash also said that the radiation from the bomb had contaminated the entire city. Only Superman could withstand the radiation. But Diana, aka Wonder Woman, comes through the blast zone to check on Clark. He is devastated by the loss of his soulmate and blames himself for the death of Lois and the baby. Diana tries to calm Clark down by telling him that it's not his fault, but the madman who planned it all. Superman then gets up and leaves Lois's body with Diana, then flies into the sky to do something. Diana called out to Clark where he was going, but Clark didn't seem to care. On the way, Green Lantern saw Superman in a hurry. Then Superman asked him where the Joker was. Green Lantern answered Superman's question by saying that the Joker was with Batman in Gotham Prison. He told him not to meet the Joker, but Superman did not care about his words and immediately flew to Gotham Prison to look for the Joker. A moment later, Green Lantern used his power ring to stop Superman, telling Superman to calm down because he felt hurt and angry. But Superman immediately told Green Lantern to let him go. But Green Lantern still tried to calm Superman down by talking to him. Before finishing his sentence, Superman immediately destroyed Green Lantern's shield and flew away. Green Lantern is still trying to stop Superman from getting to the Joker. Superman also said, "You think you can stop me? With what? The most powerful weapon in the universe on your finger?" Green Lantern immediately tried to release his power to stop Superman, but unfortunately, his efforts were in vain as Superman was able to easily snatch the ring from his hand. Immediately, Green Lantern fell to the ground, having lost his strength, but Superman quickly caught him before he hit the ground. Green Lantern tried to warn Batman about Superman, but Superman quickly took his communication device and destroyed it with his heat vision. Green Lantern tried to counsel Superman, saying, "Please, don't do something you'll regret for the rest of your life." With his emotions already shattered, Superman flew away, saying, "I already have." Meanwhile, Joker and Batman are still talking in the interrogation room. Joker tells Batman, "Someone took it all away from you once, didn't they, Bat? And look what you turned into, a kicking, punching, kicking little ball of anxiety." Joker tries to change Batman's mind by saying this. If he knows who Superman really is, he is delusional to think he is an ordinary man when he is like God. In a serious tone, Batman insists, "There are some things even you can't corrupt, Joker." But Joker casually replied, "Ha! Oh, Batsy, You're so cute. Do you really think your friend will still be fun to play with? Suddenly, Superman came through the walls of Gotham Prison. He came angrily at the Joker. Superman then threw a table to keep Batman away, and just as weakly, Batman answered the Joker's words earlier. He will grieve, but he will remain one of the finest men I know. Superman then angrily grabbed the Joker's collar, while the Joker just smiled like a fool. At that moment, the Joker also vaguely responded to Batman's opinion. I think it'll be a lot funnier than that. Superman immediately stabbed the Joker's body through the back with his bare hands, and Batman looked very shocked, not expecting a Superman to do such a thing. On the other hand, after losing Joker, Harley Quinn has lost the direction of her life. There is no more laughter on her face. She even did not hesitate to kill a police officer by strangling him with a handcuff chain. Another officer came to help his partner, but unfortunately, Harley Quinn shot him with a gun when he opened the door. After killing the two officers, Harley Quinn took their car and drove away. Meanwhile, the radio in the police car told other officers not to go near a mental hospital inmate named Harley Quinn, adding that Superman might come and kill her. Hearing the radio, Harley Quinn's ears got hot and she immediately shot the radio. The grin she usually wears to lighten the atmosphere was now gone. She then drove fast in the police car. Apparently, Harley Quinn went to a place called Dumb Joe's, which is a store that sells gadgets or souvenirs, and Harley Quinn entered the store and changed into clothes that looked like traditional Chinese clothing. When she thought she was alone, Green Arrow appeared from behind and called her name, which certainly confused Harley Quinn, who asked how Green Arrow could find her. Apparently, Green Arrow knows Harley Quinn's whereabouts from the police car in front of the store, which is in a wrecked condition, and she is not inconspicuous either, so she is easy to find. Then Harley threw a ball and was answered by an arrow shot by Green Arrow. The ball also exploded, taking Green Arrow by surprise. Harley Quinn, who was holding a large hammer, said, "Are you ready to have a permanent low profile?" She immediately took the stance to hit while Green Arrow still looked dizzy from the explosion. Harley Quinn apologized to Green Arrow for having to end his life, but she also said that she liked Green Arrow's goofy beard. When she hit Green Arrow with the hammer, it made a squeaking sound, indicating that it was a large toy hammer. Of course, it didn't hurt Green Arrow at all. Harley Quinn was confused by the toy hammer. She thought the hammer could smash Green Arrow's head to the ground. She pulled out her gun and said, well, this thing isn't loaded with squeaky bullets. But Green Arrow quickly fired his arrow until it hit the hole in the gun. Harley Quinn failed to take advantage of the opportunity because Green Arrow acted faster, and she was shocked and couldn't believe the archer's skill. Ridiculously, Harley Quinn even asked Green Arrow to shoot his arrow at her gun again, seemingly amazed at Green Arrow's archery skills. But Harley Quinn didn't know that Green Arrow was going to trap her. He then shot a trap arrow to catch Harley Quinn. Annoyed, Harley Quinn said, "You suck," to Green Arrow. He then captured Harley Quinn by dragging her to Green Arrow's car. Harley Quinn thought she was being taken to Superman, but Green Arrow said he was not. Harley Quinn began to question Green Arrow, saying, "Don't you think I deserve to die?" Green Arrow replied, "I understand there are times when there's no choice, when it's kill or be killed, but I don't believe in executions. And I certainly won't stand by and watch an all-powerful creature crush someone like a bug." Green Arrow also said that in addition to saving Harley Quinn, "I'm trying to save my friend from what I'm afraid he might do." Harley Quinn also praised Green Arrow's actions, and she began to open up other topics by asking Green Arrow unimportant questions. Annoyed, Green Arrow gave Harley Quinn an arrow, then pressed the button on the arrow to release gas that put Harley Quinn to sleep. After they arrived at Green Arrow's secret location, Harley Quinn awoke from her sleep. She vaguely saw Green Arrow standing in front of her while her hands were handcuffed to a pole to prevent her from escaping. They are currently in the Arrow Cave, which is Green Arrow's private hideout. He said that Superman would not think of looking for Harley Quinn there, and even if he did look for her, he could not see into Green Arrow's headquarters. Harley Quinn said she loved being put to sleep and waking up handcuffed because she used to do it to her boyfriend, the Joker. She also insulted the name of Green Arrow's hideout, saying that Arrow Cave was a stupid name. Green Arrow was offended by Harley Quinn's words, but she continued by saying that it still made sense for Batman to have a base called Bat Cave because bats live in caves. Harley Quinn told Green Arrow that arrows don't live in caves. He should have called the place Quiver. Hearing this, Green Arrow pointed at Harley Quinn with an annoyed face while saying, "That's actually better." Green Arrow told Harley Quinn not to run away because he would be gone for a while. He also told Harley Quinn that if she had a fake hand, she should forget about it because there was no safer place than the cave. Harley Quinn laughed when she heard the word fake hand and said she didn't have one, but she did have a fake mustache. Green Arrow was curious why she was carrying a fake mustache, and Harley Quinn said that no one could justify a fake mustache. She also said that the fake hand was a joke used by Mr. J. With a sad face, Harley Quinn began to ask Green Arrow questions, saying, "Have you ever loved someone you know is wrong for you? Someone who hurt you over and over and hurt those around you, but you could forgive them because losing them would hurt even more?" Green Arrow is silent for a moment as he listens to Harley Quinn's words, then says that Harley Quinn has described 3 of the 4 women who were with him earlier. Harley Quinn realizes that the Joker is an evil person, a psychopath, or according to Green Lantern, the person who committed genocide, but she still loves the Joker. Before Green Arrow left, Harley Quinn asked him one thing. She asked Green Arrow to make a little sound of his evil laugh at Harley Quinn. Of course, Green Arrow refused Harley Quinn's request, even though it was just a little laugh. Harley Quinn said, "Okay," and then started to dig through her pockets for something. When Green Arrow turned around, grinning at the sight of Harley Quinn with her fake mustache and goofy smile, Harley Quinn thanked Green Arrow. Now we return to Superman, who is devastated by the loss of Lois. He looks so broken and disheveled that Superman's neat appearance now looks like a frustrated person. Meanwhile, as a result of yesterday's events, the world has experienced drastic changes. The mass media continues to report events related to the bombing carried out by the Joker. It is rumored that the Joker is responsible for the loss of 11 million lives. Even the media suspects that Superman was involved in the Joker's death while he was still in prison. This makes people even more restless and afraid of the consequences of the Joker's actions. People feel even more insecure because death is always following them. "Yesterday, we lost the city of tomorrow," said one of the reporters. Superman's sad expression changed when the reporter reported that there had been a conflict in the Bialya region. Bialya's telecommunications system had been shut down in an effort to prevent information from reaching beyond the country's borders. The shooting in the Bialya region is believed to have claimed thousands of lives, and the internet blackout continues. Superman, hearing this, immediately stood up and said, "Enough!" He immediately got up and flew to Bialya. At that moment, he went to one of the towns in Bialya called Gared. There was a small child who was running in fear to avoid the rain of bombs. In the middle of his escape, the child stumbled over a stone and fell, and at the same time a bomb was pointed at him. A huge explosion occurred and could not be avoided, but apparently Superman had arrived in time to protect the child, reaching out to help the child stand up. The boy said "Shukran" to Superman, but he didn't know what it meant because he hadn't learned Arabic yet. But Superman said he would learn the language. Suddenly, Superman heard the sound of an approaching missile. He immediately destroyed the missile with his heat vision. Meanwhile, the child's mother came to her son and thanked Superman. Then the locals flocked to Superman and considered him a hero. Regret was seen on Superman's face for being late to realize the chaotic state of the world. Then he flew to find the source of the missile and promised to stop it. At Bialya's Capitol building, Superman arrived at the Bialya government building, brave and full of anger. Superman walked as usual while taking fire from the troops in front of him. Even tanks were meaningless in front of a man of steel. Superman walked casually in search of the president's whereabouts. Even the entire army in the room was mobilized to stop Superman, but their efforts were in vain, as Superman's strength was no match for ordinary humans. He easily pulled President Bialya to him, even as the soldiers fell on Superman's body. Then he flew to bring President Bialya to see the condition of his people. Superman told President Bialya that he should protect his people, and President Bialya said that Superman could not do that to him because he was the president. But Superman said he could because he had already realized what he could do. Superman then tore off the president's clothes and said he was no longer president. Soon, Wonder Woman came to see Superman's condition. She warned Superman that there were cameras everywhere, but Superman said that was a good thing, because he had some words to say. Wonder Woman said that Superman would not speak in a place like this. He had to clean up his mess. Wonder Woman then said that she would organize a press conference at the United Nations for Superman to speak his mind, and there he would say what Wonder Woman wanted to hear when she first met him, at the United Nations building. After cleaning up, Superman flew to a press conference at the United Nations with the president of Bialia, who was still shirtless at the time, where Superman apologized to the citizens of the world because he felt he had failed to protect them. Superman even dared to reveal his true identity, consciously saying that his name on Earth was Clark Kent. He also said that his job was as a reporter for a company called the Daily Planet. As a journalist, he had spent a lot of time writing about crime. As a superhero, he had also spent too much time overcoming the crimes that had been committed. But not anymore. With an increasingly angry feeling, Superman grabbed the podium as he said that yesterday's incident had taught him a lesson about not letting such monsters go free, then pointed to President Bialia and said he has committed a crime against his people. He is a form of criminal and will be punished by him. For anyone who does the same, Superman will not hesitate to come to those who hurt others. He does not care about land beliefs and does not care if the conflict caused is a trivial matter. He does not care if the person is a madman, a terrorist, a king, or a president. They have no right to take the lives of innocent people. Superman pointed to the camera and said he was calling for a worldwide truce. All wars must stop, or he would stop them by force. With his piercing gaze, Superman told them all, "It's over." One day, soldiers at a drone command center in Nevada were seen preparing to launch missiles into the Middle East. They carried the missiles using drones that would be launched directly over residential areas. However, something strange happened. The missiles they launched did not hit their intended targets. Not only did they miss their target, but they didn't even touch the ground. One of the soldiers thought it might be a system error, but that seemed impossible considering that the missiles didn't even touch the ground. To find out what happened, they checked the camera footage attached to the missiles and discovered that the Man of Steel was the reason why the missiles didn't touch the ground. Superman deliberately flew into the missile, causing it to explode in midair without harming anyone. This caught the attention of the U.S. Military Council, who were concerned about Superman's actions. Initially, they wanted to direct the missile toward a small rebel leader, where the explosion could kill at least 5 to 10 civilians. However, Superman apparently did not approve of this, as he is a hero tasked with protecting the innocent. As a result, Superman's actions were deemed an act of defiance against the U.S. government and a form of treason against the nation. But behind all this, the government was actually at a loss on how to deal with Superman, who had been monitoring the entire world and even brought down Bialia single-handedly. The only way to take down Superman is to use dirty tactics, so that the government does not have to deal with him directly. They realize that they cannot defeat Superman physically, so the government decides to kidnap Superman's adoptive parents, Jonathan Kent and Martha Kent, from their home at night. Jonathan and Martha, who were asleep at the time, were immediately awakened when soldiers forced their way into their room. The soldiers forced the couple to surrender by lying face down on the floor, but Jonathan, unable to bear seeing his wife being dragged away, immediately struck one of the soldiers with his bare hands. The soldier immediately winced in pain, as Jonathan's punch had caused a severe wound on his face. With no other option, the soldiers were forced to use violence to subdue Jonathan, while Martha could only scream for her helpless husband. After capturing the two, the soldiers burned down Superman's adoptive parents' house and took them away, with the mirror brought by Evan McCulloch, aka Mirror Master. Superman, who arrived late, looked very panicked and immediately searched for his parents inside the burning house. Superman's search came to an abrupt halt when he heard someone say that his parents weren't there. It turned out to be the voice of Mirror Master, who was using his magical mirror to communicate with Superman from a distance. Superman, filled with burning anger, threatened Mirror Master that if he harmed his parents, he would face dire consequences. However, Mirror Master remained unfazed by Superman's threats. Mirror Master said that Superman might never see his parents again because they were now being held in a place he would never find. He also said that they were still alive, although he had to beat Superman's father because he kept resisting. Superman, unhappy to hear this, immediately shattered the mirror into pieces. Nevertheless, Mirror Master was still able to convey a message from the government, ordering Superman to stop interfering in government affairs and warfare. They promised to let his parents live if Superman returned to the path he should have taken. In a threatening tone, Mirror Master said, "Forget your place again, and we'll start sending you little pieces of one of them. Maybe we'll even let you choose which one." After the kidnapping of Superman's adoptive parents, the superheroes gather at the Justice League Watchtower to discuss the tragic incident. Strangely, Batman is absent from the meeting, so Wonder Woman takes the lead with the intention of helping Superman fight injustice. With her fighting spirit, Wonder Woman strongly opposes the evil deed because she is aware of her position. Therefore, she invites all the heroes present to join Superman in fighting the government. She believes that they can change the world for the better, just as Superman is doing. Hearing this, Cyborg's heart trembles, remembering that Superman has saved humanity countless times from attacks that could destroy the Earth. Cyborg firmly declared that he was willing to help Superman alongside the other heroes to repay his debt. The first step taken by Wonder Woman was to inform Flash and the others that Mirror Master was also involved in the tragedy. Flash suggested that they search for the rogues and interrogate them to determine Mirror Master's current location. They eventually split up to search for the rogues' members using the teleportation system at the Watchtower, heading towards Central City. The heroes who arrived in Central City were seen busy fighting each member of the rogues. Hawkgirl faced Weather Wizard, Cyborg fought Captain Boomerang, Shazam battled Gorilla Grodd, and finally Flash confronted Captain Cold. In this battle, Flash manages to defeat Captain Cold, intimidating him into revealing Mirror Master's location. Captain Cold, who is cornered at that moment, says that Mirror Master might be at a bar called Word's Ends in Keystone City. Hearing this, Flash looks happy and leaves Captain Cold, who is frozen by his own attack. However, before that, Captain Cold asks Flash to deal with Mirror Master alone and leave the others because it's not just the heroes who feel lost in Metropolis. In short, Wonder Woman and Flash eventually arrive at the bar mentioned by Captain Cold. Their arrival was naturally seen as a threat by the bar's patrons, most of whom were criminals. However, Wonder Woman explained that they were only there to find Mirror Master, but Cheetah seemed intent on causing trouble. Despite Cheetah being behind her, Wonder Woman remained calm and told the woman to stop because they weren't alone. In the blink of an eye, Flash approached Mirror Master, who was sitting calmly at the bar to talk to him. However, Flash was tricked by Mirror Master's reflection because he was actually inside a glass dimension next to him. Mirror Master arrogantly mocked Flash's speed, which he thought was sometimes slow. But unbeknownst to him, Raven had the ability to penetrate his glass dimension, allowing them to physically capture Mirror Master. Quickly, Wonder Woman placed the lasso of truth around Mirror Master's neck to force him to reveal the location of Superman's parents. She also asked about the consequences of breaking the glass while Mirror Master's body was only appearing on one side. Seeing that Wonder Woman was serious, Mirror Master finally admitted that he had imprisoned Superman's parents in a place called Salar de Uyuni, Bolivia. Flash quickly contacted the Man of Steel to inform him of his parents' whereabouts, while Wonder Woman asked Mirror Master to remove his clothes. Shortly after Flash arrived at Salar de Uyuni, the location of the world's largest natural mirror, where Superman had already arrived. He gave Superman the belt that Mirror Master used to enter the glass dimension so that Superman could search for his parents. The place was the best hiding spot, with an endless reflection of the sky spanning 10 square kilometers. However, Flash was confident that Clark would find his parents because he was Superman. Meanwhile, deep concerns arose from the government as their plan to bring down Superman had completely failed. The president ordered his general to come up with another way to stop Superman, who was growing increasingly angry. As the president entered his office, he was completely unaware that Batman was already there and immediately restrained him to prevent him from shouting. Batman stated that he should not have kidnapped the parents of a man, especially one as powerful as Superman. The president had no idea that their actions could have drawn Batman to him. As a detective, Batman had a strong hunch, and that hunch had now become reality. Although he was proven to be involved in the incident, the president was convinced that the heroes would not hurt him because it would affect public perception. However, Batman shattered his naive attitude by saying that they could do it without leaving a trace because the police would not bother looking for his body on Saturn. According to Batman, the president's failed plan not only ignited Superman's spirit but also united all the heroes to fight by his side. Although Superman tried to bring peace, the president was not convinced that Superman would maintain it, reasoning that power would corrupt him. Shortly after, Batman left without leaving a single trace. Wonder Woman is a female warrior raised by the Amazons solely for battle. She left her home island on a mission for peace, even though peace was not reflected in her. This caught the attention of Ares, the god of war, who was greatly impressed by the Amazon princess's abilities, strength, and ferocity. Wonder Woman, who was at the time fighting against hundreds of military troops, was able to withstand bullets from a tank without sustaining a single injury. To teach the tank a lesson, she flew directly toward it and rammed it, shattering it into pieces. That is why Ares said that although she desired peace, she also enjoyed war itself. Ares said this because, as the god of war, he knew what war was. After witnessing the princess's impressive headbutt on the tank, Ares approached Wonder Woman to check on her condition. He said, "You left Themyscira as an ambassador for peace, and now you're headbutting tanks?" Wonder Woman replied, "Sometimes peace needs to be fought for." The arrival of the god of war raised questions in Wonder Woman's mind about why he was there. Ares said he just wanted to see the Amazon princess's work because, in his opinion, this war seemed more interesting, with superhumans fighting against ordinary soldiers. Wonder Woman explained that she wasn't fighting against Karak, but was stopping the country because it had ignored the ceasefire request and continued to bombard its neighboring country Justal. While throwing a tank, Wonder Woman said that the war could be stopped by halting the gunfire, just like any other war. This made Ares question Wonder Woman's belief in Superman's goal of achieving world peace. Without hesitation, Wonder Woman replied, "I do," proving that she was fully committed to that goal. With great courage, Wonder Woman walks through a barrage of bullets fired by the soldiers without sustaining a single injury. With a piercing gaze, Wonder Woman issues an ultimatum to all the soldiers to drop their weapons and leave immediately. Without hesitation, the remaining soldiers flee the area in panic. This made the god of war believe that Wonder Woman was too merciful toward her enemies. He also provoked Wonder Woman by asking if she would steal Superman's heart and become the second Lois in his life. Wonder Woman paused for a moment to process the question, then said that Lois was an amazing woman. Ares looked angry because that wasn't the answer he wanted. Considering Superman was the greatest man she had ever met, Wonder Woman said she would let him grieve, but she would still be by his side and become whatever Superman wanted her to be. With a sharp gaze, Wonder Woman asked, "You fear this union, don't you?" The question surprised Wonder Woman because she never expected the god of war to care about such a thing. She then pointed at Ares and said that Ares was actually afraid of Superman succeeding in his plan, because what would become of the god of war without conflict in the world? Wonder Woman then told Ares to become a different god who didn't rely on violence and change his name to Ares, god of ponies. Ares' anger immediately flared up after hearing the Amazon princess's insolent words. He grabbed Wonder Woman's hand tightly, making her angry and threatening to cut it off. However, before she could, Ares quickly grabbed her other hand, preventing Wonder Woman from drawing her sword. Ares then stated that Wonder Woman could not threaten him, because the destruction occurring there served as fuel for the war god himself. He did not want the union between Wonder Woman and Superman to form, so he would destroy the princess there with a power even Zeus himself could not stop. However, his plan failed because Superman suddenly appeared out of nowhere, striking Ares and breaking the horn on his helmet. Seeing this golden opportunity, Wonder Woman immediately drew her sword and severed Ares' hand before he could fully rise. Wonder Woman then mocked Ares, saying, "You can have your hand back when you can be trusted with it," enraging Ares and causing him to threaten to kill every baby born from the Amazon lineage. After previously being seen as too merciful toward her enemies, Wonder Woman now proves to Ares that this is not the case by stabbing him in the chest, leaving Superman speechless. Calmly, Wonder Woman tells Superman that the gods do not die easily, but they will fade away over time. She then invites Superman to leave Ares and speak to the government of Korak about an eternal agreement, so that the god of war will fade away forever. However, Superman, still curious, asks Wonder Woman if gods feel pain, and Wonder Woman replies that the pain she refers to is not like the pain felt by ordinary humans. The reason Ares fears the union between Wonder Woman and Superman is because he knows the power of the man from Krypton very well. But what worries him even more is the Amazon princess, who has no moral boundaries or doubts about acting decisively, even brutally, for her beliefs. And if Wonder Woman takes those boundaries away from Superman, then no power will be able to stop her. And if war were to be eradicated from the world, Ares would have to change his name to the god of ponies. One day, Robin and Nightwing were seen training together in the Batcave. At that time, Nightwing criticized Robin's fighting style, which constantly targeted vital points without paying attention to other weak points of him. Despite Robin's efforts to land a blow that could injure him, Nightwing remained professional and didn't take it personally. In his view, even a criminal deserved a second chance. So Robin's fighting style needed to change to avoid causing serious injury. When Nightwing invited Robin to train again, Robin deliberately threw his staff at Nightwing's head while he wasn't looking. But Superman, who arrives suddenly, catches it first. Robin looks upset because his unsportsmanlike behavior failed to defeat Nightwing. He scolds Superman for coming without warning and stopping his attack, but Superman completely ignores him. Superman goes to the Batcave to look for Batman, who is in front of his computer. Robin says that Batman looks more gloomy than usual, and Superman seems to be used to his behavior. Robin also thanked Superman for killing the Joker and making everyone feel safe, but Superman seemed to still have bad memories of that incident. Superman asked Nightwing to take Robin with him while he went to meet Batman for a private conversation. The atmosphere in the room suddenly changed when Superman folded his arms and asked Batman where he had been while his parents were kidnapped. Batman replied that he had other matters to attend to, and he also asked his friend to stop doing what he had been doing, because his actions had frightened many people. This immediately provoked Superman's anger, who forcefully removed Batman's mask. Superman felt that people should be afraid so that no more humans would be hurt. He had learned this from Batman and was certain that Batman would do the same if he could. However, Batman deeply regretted Superman's actions, which had taken the life of a man who was none other than the Joker. Superman firmly blamed Batman for indirectly killing many people by letting the Joker live as he pleased. Batman regretted it, but that wasn't enough. Their conflicting principles regarding the decision to take someone's life caused a rift in their friendship. Superman said he only killed one person to save millions, but Batman still disagreed. He believes that this is a form of justification that could lead someone to continue doing it until they eventually blind themselves to what is good and right. On the other hand, fishermen are seen hunting whales swimming in the open sea. They capture these marine mammals with a large, sharp spear, which undoubtedly hurts the whales. The only one who can feel the pain is the king of Atlantis, Aquaman, who arrives to save his people who are suffering and terrified. With boiling anger, Aquaman breaks the ship's chains and drags it to the ocean floor to sink it, while the fishermen on the ship send an emergency signal that is detected by the Justice League's watchtower. Green Lantern, Shazam, and Wonder Woman rush to the Japanese ship, which was under attack by their own allies. It turned out that Atlantis, led by Aquaman, had not heeded Superman's ceasefire order. They remained intent on attacking the ship because the king of Atlantis was consumed by a raging fire of anger. Shortly thereafter, Wonder Woman arrived at the scene and calmly asked Aquaman to stop the attack. Aquaman flatly refused, stating that they were not following Superman and Wonder Woman's orders. Aquaman said firmly, "I am the king of the sea, and I will protect it," meaning that he would protect the ocean by any means necessary. However, Wonder Woman still gently asked Aquaman to stop his attack because she did not want to cause trouble with him. She knew that Arthur was a good person and not a tyrant because he only wanted to protect his people. Calmly, Wonder Woman extended her hand and asked Aquaman to resolve the issue with words. However, this was misinterpreted by one of the Atlantis soldiers, who suddenly shot Wonder Woman in the face, thinking she was going to attack the king. Aquaman was furious with the soldier because it was a bad idea to anger the Amazons. As Aquaman tried to check on Wonder Woman, she suddenly struck the Atlantis king hard enough to send him flying. Now the Amazon princess had lost her patience and chose another way to resolve the issue. After receiving a heavy blow from Wonder Woman, Aquaman appears to still be unconscious from his fainting spell. The blue whales arrive to wake the King of the Sea so he can protect them from the battle taking place on land. Hearing the whales' urgent cries, Aquaman finally awakens with a face full of rage. Meanwhile, the Justice League, now only 4 members strong, was busy fighting against the large Atlantis army. Seeing his chance, Aquaman quietly pulled Wonder Woman's leg and dragged her into the water, while Shazam, who witnessed the incident, was shocked and rushed to save Wonder Woman before she ran out of breath. On the other side, Superman and Batman are still engaged in a complicated conversation in the Batcave. Superman bluntly asks Batman if he loves the Joker so much that it makes him sad that Superman took the clown's life in such a tragic way. Batman remained silent, unable to speak, and began putting on his mask. He only replied that it wasn't true, which made Superman angry because Batman's actions of always letting the Joker go and playing stupid games with him had taken the life of Lois, his beloved wife. Even the Man of Steel almost fired his laser because he was so angry with Batman's actions that had caused him to lose everything. Back to the battle in the Pacific Ocean, Shazam swiftly came to save Wonder Woman from Aquaman's grasp. Despite being in the water, Aquaman was still not strong enough to defeat Wonder Woman, so Shazam flew him away. Shazam says he doesn't want to fight the King of Atlantis and tells him to surrender because the battle is uneven. But Aquaman isn't afraid at all because he has prepared a mysterious mass destruction weapon from the depths of the ocean. Meanwhile, in the Batcave, Superman is still ranting about the pain he feels from losing his wife and unborn child. Superman fantasizes that one day he won't feel alone anymore because Kryptonian blood will flow through his child's veins. He indirectly blames Batman for this and criticizes Batman's parenting style for failing to properly raise Robin and Nightwing, who are currently spying on them from above. His love for the darkness has made him forget to take care of them, leaving Robin and Nightwing with few friends in Metropolis. Superman then glares at Batman and asks, "Your parents died and left you, Bruce. What's your excuse for not being a father?" The question enrages Batman, who immediately strikes Superman hard without moving a muscle. At the same time, the battle in the Southern Sea began to calm down because Aquaman had ordered his troops to leave. This confused the heroes there because the incident was very strange and happened so quickly. Shortly after, Hawkgirl and Green Lantern saw a huge wave and thought it was a tsunami heading their way. However, they noticed a mysterious, enormous creature behind the tsunami wave approaching them. Shazam looks very scared because he had always thought that the creature approaching them was just a myth, while Aquaman understands Shazam's ignorance because he is actually a child trapped in the body of an adult wizard. After being hit hard by Batman, Superman casually asks Batman to show him his hand so he can see his bones. With his X-ray vision, Superman discovered that the blow had injured Batman's bones and ligaments, which would take 3 to 4 weeks to heal. Shortly after, an emergency alarm sounded, startling both of them. Superman had no idea there was a battle in the Pacific Ocean because he wasn't using any communication devices, but upon learning of it, he immediately set off for the scene. Before leaving, Batman admitted that he would have done the same as Superman if the same thing had happened to him. However, he felt that Clark shouldn't have put himself in danger because he knew Clark was a better person than him. Hearing this confession, Superman's heart melted, and he invited his friend to help end the battle. However, Batman refused without giving a clear reason. Finally, Superman left and ran into Alfred, who looked very cynical towards him. Meanwhile, the tsunami waves were getting closer to the Japanese fishermen's boats, so Wonder Woman asked Green Lantern to immediately evacuate the boats from there. However, it was all in vain because it turned out that the weapon of mass destruction Aquaman was referring to was Kraken, the sea monster. After hearing about Kraken's attack, Superman rushed to save his friends in the Pacific Ocean. Meanwhile, to prevent anything unwanted from happening, Batman immediately contacted Aquaman to inform him that Superman was coming with anger overwhelming his pain. However, shortly after Batman contacted him, Superman arrived before Aquaman could stop Kraken's rampage. Without hesitation, Superman charged through Kraken's tentacles and ordered Aquaman to calm the mythical creature while choking him. With a sharp gaze accompanied by laser beams, Superman threatened Aquaman that he would not hesitate to hurt the Kraken even if he didn't want to. Aquaman initially insisted that they were the ones being attacked, but after being convinced by Batman, he immediately ordered the Kraken to calm down. Shortly thereafter, the members of the Justice League emerged from the sea, carrying the fisherman who had been previously sunk by Aquaman. After stopping everything, Superman speaks to Aquaman about the ceasefire he has declared to the entire world. But Aquaman says that Superman's ceasefire means nothing to the deep sea, because Aquaman does not want Superman to interfere with his kingdom. Superman said that he did not want to rule anything because his main goal was to protect the entire world, but Aquaman insisted that his kingdom would not fall into Superman's iron hands. Aquaman continued to mock Superman, who he believed was starting to form his own government despite Batman's warnings. At the same time, Aquaman had ordered his entire army to attack the mainland. As a warning, he sent them to the Golden Gate Bridge, Rio de Janeiro, and Dubai, United Arab Emirates. In addition to serving as a warning, the attack was meant to show the world the power of the ocean. Aquaman eventually expels Superman from his ocean, and Superman responds without using violence. On the other hand, Batman says that Aquaman's actions are foolish because Superman would never respond to such an ultimatum. Along with Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, and Shazam, Superman planned to do something crazy to show Aquaman who he was dealing with. The four of them headed to the bottom of the ocean to lift all of Atlantis and bring it to the surface. Superman had lost his moral compass because he had let go of all his restraints by saying, "No more holding back." He would do anything to show his strength to anyone who threatened the peace of the world. They then take the kingdom to one of the hottest places on Earth, the Sahara Desert, so that the creatures inside will suffer from the heat. Additionally, Superman asks Cyborg to cut off Batman's communication because he heard Batman whispering poison into Aquaman's ear. After all the retaliation, the Atlantis king finally agreed to speak with Superman. However, Superman refused the offer and told Wonder Woman to come as his diplomat. He felt that his conversation with Aquaman earlier had yielded nothing. A short time later, Wonder Woman finally meets Aquaman at the shore of Algeria. She asks Aquaman to immediately withdraw his forces before any further incidents occur. To Superman's trusted advisor, Aquaman asks Wonder Woman to make Superman stop his actions. His reason is that their actions will scare many people because not everyone likes being constantly watched. However, Wonder Woman outright rejected the proposal, believing that Superman's actions were the best course of action for the world. Before leaving, Aquaman asked Wonder Woman to convey his message to Superman. As a king who has ruled for many years, Aquaman would be more than willing to offer advice to Superman on how to be a leader. With a sad expression, Aquaman also expressed his concern for what had happened to Lois. Wonder Woman said she would send the message to Superman. She then met with Superman and told him that Aquaman would immediately withdraw all his troops, which relieved Superman, and he would later order Green Lantern and Shazam to return Atlantis to its original place. However, Wonder Woman chose not to convey Aquaman's message to Superman for no apparent reason. Nevertheless, Superman could sense that Wonder Woman was hiding something. On that afternoon, Flash ran as fast as lightning under Nullerbore's peaceful afternoon sky. He ran down a straight road with no clear destination in mind, occasionally stopping when he saw a flock of emus or kangaroos crossing the road. However, the 90-mile or 146.6-kilometer straight road was a haven for speedsters like himself. He used to run there to think or just to calm down. But on that afternoon, Flash just wanted to run. 2 hours earlier, Flash along with Superman and Wonder Woman had come to Melbourne, Australia, to disperse a protesting crowd. The people of Melbourne strongly criticized Superman's actions and did not consider him a superhero anymore. There, Superman asked all the people of Melbourne to immediately disperse from there before he would do it forcibly. But it was strongly opposed by one young man. He said that they had the right to protest in their own country and told Superman and others to leave immediately from there. The young man then unleashed his special powers to attack Superman and his friends with all his might. But Superman and Wonder Woman managed to avoid his attack and swiftly stopped the young man. At that moment, Flash looked very surprised by what Superman and Wonder Woman did to the young man. They stomped on the body of a young man until it broke his vertebrae just like that. Flash, the fastest man in the world, could only stand still as he heard each of his vertebrae broken one by one. He did not give any reaction because in front of him was the duo of superheroes with the strongest power on the rampage. Silence instantly enveloped the city that was previously full of shouts of protest. Wonder Woman shouted for everyone to get out of there, while Flash swiftly ran to check on the young man's condition, and without further ado, he left there with the excuse of looking for an ambulance. Apparently, Batman saw the incident and said, "Breaking up civilian protests now? How heroic." He reconnects his communication device after being forcibly disconnected by Superman just to communicate with Flash privately. Batman told Flash that the ambulance was close to the scene of the crime and he asked him to go to the lab in Canberra immediately. Flash looks confused at Batman's instructions, but he goes anyway to see what Batman really means. After getting there, Batman told Flash that he just wanted to wake him up from the wrong path. At the lab, Flash meets Dr. Norris, a female scientist who had previously been given the news that Flash was going there. She then showed Flash a picture of a previous young man named Mitchell Davies, aka Galaxor. Flash looks confused at the name Galaxor, which sounds familiar to him, as does the Doctor. However, they chose Mitchell because he was a person who was ready to do anything to become a superhero. Since he wasn't there at the time, Dr. Norris dared to show Flash how Galaxor's bedroom looked like, where Flash looked very surprised because it turned out that the boy who had just been paralyzed by Superman was a big fan of the Justice League. He even saw a photo of himself with little Galaxor, but didn't remember the moment at all. And that's when Batman stepped in to make Flash realize what he was following. Flash then left there, leaving his communication device unnoticed by the Doctor. In the midst of his escape, Flash found a kangaroo that had been hit by a 200-ton truck traveling at 70 miles per hour. The truck may not have been able to slow down suddenly to save the kangaroo's life, but Flash, the fastest man in the world, was too late to save Galaxor, who he imagined was lying like the kangaroo. In his regret, Flash didn't want to think about anything because at that moment, he just wanted to run down the straight road for no apparent reason. It was a beautiful and peaceful afternoon, but not for Flash's heart. One night, Batman was visibly shocked when he heard a very loud scream. The scream could not be silenced by anything and continued to strengthen over time. It turned out to be the scream of a child who was abandoned and lost everything in just a moment. The scream seemed to pierce into the dark soul of Batman, hitting his regret and pain. And on another night, Batman recalled the voice when an unforgettable tragedy came upon him. He again neglected his duties as a parent until finally the child's life was the victim. The Dark Knight could only look on with a regretful gaze and unseen pain. But before that, let's look back at the flashback before it all happened. One day, a pair of twin reporters named Robert and Julie Chandler were broadcasting news on a news channel called Gotham 2. They discussed Superman's actions that had divided a nation because there were some people who did not share his views. One of them was Dr. Boone, who was present to express his opinion on this matter. However, there is an oddity, where Julie the reporter looks nervous when saying this. This was also realized by Nightwing, who was also watching television at that time and seemed familiar with the mysterious man's voice. The mysterious man said that Dr. Boone could not be there, and sure enough, it turned out that one of Batman's enemies named Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face, was present there. Two-Face then pointed a gun at them and would decide the life of one of the twin reporters with a coin he was carrying. As Two-Face tossed the coin up, a laser beam suddenly melted the coin in an instant until it hit Two-Face's hand. As a result, Two-Face screamed in pain as the molten metal gave his uncovered hand a burning sensation. He got even angrier and yelled at everyone to tell him the outcome of the coin, heads or tails. But when he saw Superman suddenly appear in front of him, Two-Face immediately lowered his voice as if he was afraid of Superman's presence. Without further ado, Superman immediately squeezed the gun that Two-Face was carrying without any difficulty. And finally, he managed to save the lives of the two reporters without having to take Two-Face's life. On that occasion, Julie asked Superman for a little time so that she could interview him. Even though Superman had to leave soon, Julie continued to beg him for an interview. Superman felt that he had met Julie before, and sure enough, Julie remembered him as the Clark she had met at the Pulitzers, the Clark who was nominated, beaten by his own wife in the Best Writer award. Shortly after the conversation, the two went to the camera to start the interview. Julie asked Superman if he thought Lois would approve of his proactive actions, to which Superman replied that he was doing it all for his late wife and hoped that she would be on the same page. Julie then asked if he had killed the Joker, and without hesitation, Superman replied, "Yes," with disappointment clearly visible on his face. Superman hopes that everyone is on the same page with him, and in the interview, he indirectly alludes to his former best friend by saying that someone is protecting these psychopaths. Superman's presence in Gotham at that time was to save the Sick City from the person he was referring to. He would annihilate all forms of evil because he thought justice could no longer take the form of mercy. Superman thought that too many lives had been lost because the world continued to forgive the unforgivable. He promised that the criminals would never threaten civilians again by spreading relentless terror. After hearing the statement from Superman, Batman immediately asked Robin to prepare the Batplane. Batman knew that Superman would go to Arkham Mental Hospital to exterminate all criminals, so he would go there to stop him. However, Little Robin protested and refused to go with his father. Unlike Nightwing, Robin will go if they also help Superman in destroying the place. Nightwing seemed to disagree with his adopted brother's opinion, which he thought was too dark. Robin, who was 13 years old at the time, agreed with Superman, who certainly had the opposite view to his father. Not wanting to argue, Batman immediately left for Arkham without listening to the ramblings of his little son. On the way, Nightwing asked Batman if he understood the meaning of Robin's statement, but Batman just shut up with an annoyed face without caring about Nightwing's question. This actually annoyed Nightwing, but what could be made because father and son were just as stubborn. Nightwing casually said that it took a long time for Bruce to indoctrinate him. These words seemed to make Batman guilty, but Nightwing said that he understood what he meant. With a sarcastic tone, Nightwing said, "Now, let's go defend a bunch of horrible murderers from the world's greatest heroes." On the other hand, Superman and other superheroes have arrived at Arkham Mental Hospital with Two-Face. The doctor thought that Superman and friends brought Two-Face to undergo further treatment. However, Wonder Woman refuted this because they would move all the criminals to a safer place. Of course, the Doctor was against it, as well as Batman, who was already there. However, Batman's opposition was countered by Robin's scathing statement that he stood with Superman to fight his father and adopted brother. Batman's heart immediately broke after hearing such a heartbreaking statement coming from the mouth of his little son. Things are heating up in Arkham because Robin has chosen the opposite side of his father. Although he is still a child, Robin already has his own goals in which he wants to bring criminals to justice, along with Superman and others. Meanwhile, he thinks that Batman is on the wrong side because he favors other villains like Killer Croc and the Bald Calendar Man. The Bald Man took the opportunity to tease Wonder Woman by reminding her of the time he was arrested for stealing a Fabergé egg. Even though Wonder Woman had broken his collarbone and punctured his lungs with his own ribs, Calendar Man was still happy and considered it his best date ever. Hearing this, Wonder Woman just silently stares at Calendar Man in disgust because she doesn't feel the same way. On the other hand, Batman and Superman were still having a verbal confrontation. Superman said that he would not stop just because Batman stood in his way. The situation is further exacerbated by one of the villains named Victor Zsasz, who mocks Superman with stitch marks all over his body. He likens the wound to a part of life, just like Superman's wound that has made him free from everything. Wonder Woman, who felt unacceptable to hear this statement, immediately asked Cyborg to open Zaz's cage. Although Batman forbade it, Cyborg still did it, and instantly, Zaz disappeared without a trace. That made Mad Hatter scared because Zaz suddenly disappeared just like that. Batman realized that it was Flash, and even though Mad Hatter promised to do good, he was still taken by Flash somewhere. The Riddler, who was arrested at the time, wanted to launch his game, but Cyborg firmly rejected the game. Meanwhile, Batman was furious with Superman and questioned where he was taking the criminals, and Superman replied that he had provided a safe facility so far away that the criminals would not be able to escape from there. Batman warned Cyborg not to open the Riddler's door, but the robot man didn't care, and had to be electrocuted by Batman through his belt. This made Cyborg fall down in pain while provoking the anger of Superman and others. Batman did not turn off the device, even though Wonder Woman asked him to stop, until finally Nightwing came to turn off the device. Nightwing asked all the heroes to stay calm, because they only made themselves look bad in front of the psychopaths. At the same time, Green Arrow and Harley Quinn had just arrived in Arkham after a long little adventure. They talked like friends in general, where Harley Quinn questioned all the wealth that Green Arrow had, who she thought was a robber like Robin Hood. There they were greeted by a burly guard named Kenneth. He told Green Arrow that the superheroes were gathering, so that the rich version of Robin Hood had to rush to leave Harley Quinn with Kenneth at the entrance. But using the fake mustache she always carries, Harley Quinn managed to open Green Arrow's handcuffs and beat the burly guard easily. She then took over the security of the mental hospital to release the creepy monster that had been locked up underground. Meanwhile, the feud is heating up, where Cyborg looks very upset with Batman's actions that implanted the virus in him. On the other hand, Batman does have a plan B, where he prepares this in anticipation that at any time Cyborg will defect from him. Green Arrow, who saw the feud, immediately shot his arrow as a form of warning. Batman thought that Green Arrow was part of Superman, but Green Arrow replied that he brought someone to be detained there. The person is Harley Quinn, who has entered the security system of the mental hospital. And without hesitating to greet them all, she opens all the prison doors so that the prisoners can get out of there. Shortly thereafter, the entire building experienced a violent shock, as if there was a large earthquake. Then the superheroes immediately realized that Harley Quinn had released a powerful monster that was locked up underground, namely Grundy the Undead Monster. Grundy came out from underground pulling Little Robin, saying, "Born on a Monday?" He then grabbed the child's head while saying, "Dies on a Saturday," until finally he brings Robin down with the closing words, "Buried on a Sunday." The chaos at Arkham Psychiatric Hospital escalated due to Harley Quinn's actions. As the mastermind behind the riot, the Joker's former lover laughed with delight as the superheroes struggled to cope with the crazed criminals. With her coquettish nature, she briefly teased Green Arrow by asking the villains not to hurt the cute bearded man. Harley Quinn confessed that she had Stockholm Syndrome due to being held captive by Green Arrow. The superheroes look overwhelmed against the villains, including Batman, who is increasingly cornered because he is attacked by two villains at once, namely Killer Croc and Riddler. But fortunately, Green Arrow swiftly releases Boxing Glove Arrow towards Riddler, so that his plan to hit Batman's head with a rock is not carried out. Meanwhile, Batman, who was still cornered by Killer Croc, still remembered his son who was still in Grundy's grasp. Wonder Woman also came to save Robin by thrusting her sword into Grundy's arm so that the zombie would release his grip. But Wonder Woman's efforts seemed futile because Grundy could withstand the attack and strongly threw the Amazon princess through the wall. Flash swiftly ran to save Wonder Woman. Meanwhile, Superman and Nightwing are now working together to face Grundy, who is alone. Nightwing says that Superman doesn't need to hold back because Grundy is actually a zombie who will continue to regenerate. With full awareness, Superman cut off Grundy's hand holding Robin with a laser in his eye, after which he flew quickly through Grundy's body without any difficulty. At the same time, Nightwing rushed to help Robin, who was still struggling to remove Grundy's grip from his head. Despite being helped by Nightwing, Robin did not say thank you, and instead said that he could control it. But Nightwing was not angry at all, and instead joked by saying that Robin had put the zombie monster to sleep by putting his head in his grasp. Batman came like an overnight hero to see the condition of his two sons. After finding out that both of them were fine, he asked the two sons to help put the criminals in the cell, but Robin strongly opposed this because he was still standing by Superman's side. Hearing this, Batman emphasized not to argue because at that time he still had business with Grundy. Apparently, even though Superman had made a big hole in Grundy's body, he could still stand tall to face them all. Quickly, Batman attached bombs to both of Grundy's ears until it finally exploded, destroying his head. Only then was it safe for Grundy to be moved back before he acted up again. Meanwhile, Robin was seen beating the criminals mercilessly. He released all the anger in him on the criminals who had hurt many people. Nightwing, meanwhile, couldn't help but see his brother doing the right thing. He immediately advised Robin not to beat the criminals after they fell. He said, "You're not Robin anymore. Stop telling me what to do." Robin then threw his stick at Nightwing's head, which immediately made him dazed and then fell with the back of his head hitting the stone. After that, Nightwing was immediately unconscious, which made Robin worried and went to him. At the same time, Superman and Batman finally returned to the surface after taking Grundy to safety. What was Batman's surprise when he saw Robin crying, saying, "I'm sorry," with regret. The Dark Knight immediately approached Nightwing with anxiety and found that his son was lifeless. Superman came to embrace Robin and tried to calm him down. The riot that was there instantly stopped when he saw Batman lose something so precious to him. Even a villain like Harley Quinn was unable to stem her tears in that moment. In the midst of deep sadness, Batman said, "There's a scream that can't be silenced. It's rising, growing louder and louder. It's the scream of a child abandoned, suddenly, long ago. As the scream echoed then, in that alley, it echoes now in my mind. It penetrates all the dark places. It slams into the loss. It bounces against the regret and the pain. He's gone. I'm abandoned again. My son is dead." One day, as Catwoman patrols a small alley in Gotham City, she finds the body of a man she knew named Joey Geaton, lying bloodied with a woman's purse scattered in front of him. Catwoman knew Joey as a mechanic years ago, who later lost his job in an accident. Not only his job, Joey also lost his home afterward. However, he still has a family and self-respect to defend. Joey may be a criminal in the eyes of others, but not Catwoman. He has a rule where he only steals the bag and the money, but he always leaves the credit card and identification of the owner of the bag he stole. But now, Joey is gone because someone just shot him. For this reason, Catwoman, who still has a heroic spirit, feels that this action is an injustice where petty criminals who have lived in fear are now even more destitute because someone who resembles a god is always watching over them. She blames Superman for all of this because she has a different view of what a true villain looks like. According to Catwoman, real criminals are those who take advantage of others for themselves. For this reason, Catwoman secretly sneaks into one of the homes of an official who likes to take other people's homes to steal some of their property. Catwoman plans to give the money to Joey's family and maybe take a little profit from it. While Catwoman was taking the official's property, Superman suddenly came to catch her stealing money from civilians. Superman looks surprised when he sees Catwoman asking for his help, carrying a sack full of other people's property. When the owner of the house came with his gun, Catwoman unceremoniously jumped out of the building through the glass she had previously perforated. Catwoman, who used to play mice and cats with Batman, now had to play with Superman. But Superman swiftly caught Catwoman and brought her to land safely on the street. But strangely, Superman suddenly felt dizzy for no reason. It turns out that Catwoman uses an earring made of kryptonite to anticipate if she is captured by Superman. She then ran to the underground water channel while Superman was weak and managed to escape from there. With an outfit that has been equipped with soundproofing, Catwoman believes that the Man of Steel will not be able to hear the sound of her heartbeat. But at that time, Catwoman, who was thinking about where to hide, should be surprised by Superman's laser that shoots into the ear that uses an earring from kryptonite. Suddenly, it made Catwoman in pain and immediately threw her kryptonite earring into the ditch. With an angry look, Catwoman asked Superman if he now liked to kill criminals in the sewer. But instead of getting angry back, Superman apologized to Catwoman because he didn't mean to scare her and came there just to talk about Batman. Superman then tells Catwoman that Nightwing is gone, which makes her shocked to hear the news. Superman asks Catwoman as one of Batman's closest people to come see Bruce, who is grieving. It makes Catwoman confused because Superman should be the one who comes there to accompany him because they are good friends. However, Superman argued that everything that happened recently made their relationship not so good, so it made Catwoman angry because she thought it was nonsense. She was furious that Superman, who dared to fight Doomsday to the death, was afraid to talk to his best friend. After Superman begged with a pleading face, Catwoman finally agreed to his request with one condition that Superman had to fulfill. Catwoman only asked Superman to be more fair in punishing criminals. She wanted Superman not only to take care of the victims of the war out there, but he also had to know that many Americans had lost their homes due to the actions of greedy officials there. Catwoman also said, "If you're punishing the wicked, don't forget who did this to them. Punish all the supervillains' governments you want, but save some wrath for the evil people who truly rule the world." After her meeting with Superman, Catwoman finally went to meet Batman at his mansion. She sneaked in because Alfred never opened the door, and found Alfred looking down, holding a bottle of beer with a blank stare. Alfred, who realized Catwoman's arrival, immediately apologized for not knowing her arrival. Alfred even wanted to make tea for Catwoman, but she refused because Alfred's condition did not allow it at that time. She said, "I'll be looking after you for a change." After meeting Alfred, Catwoman walks into the Batcave and sees Batman beating a large wooden pole covered in cloth until his hand is badly injured. Batman only stopped when Catwoman asked him to stop. She then unmasked the Dark Knight and asked him not to be Batman for a day. Catwoman said, "It's okay, just for today. You can fall apart, I'll hold you together." Catwoman then hugged Batman, who was helplessly silent. Not a hug to comfort, but a hug to tell him that he is not alone. One night, Batman and Catwoman see the light of the Bat sign lit from the roof of the Gotham police station. Catwoman initially seemed hesitant to go there given her not-so-good reputation in the eyes of law enforcement. However, she had to go anyway because Catwoman would support Batman no matter what. Meanwhile, Batman doesn't mind at all because it's none of his business. Finally, they went to the Bat sign using their respective grapple guns. When they got there, Batman thought that the one in front of him was Commissioner Gordon, because he was the one who usually turned on the Bat sign, but at that time it was Mr. President who immediately turned on the Bat sign. So it was a little surprising for Batman. Mr. President said that no one had seen Batman for a week, so he was confused about how to meet the Dark Knight. He also emphasized that he wanted to talk to Batman one-on-one without anyone, including Catwoman, who was a criminal. However, Batman did not agree to this because whatever the story, Catwoman would always be by his side, and if not, then Batman did not want to talk to Mr. President at all. After hearing this, Mr. President could not help but follow Batman's request so that he could talk to him. On the way to the secret room, Mr. President expressed his condolences for Nightwing's death. However, Batman didn't respond to Mr. President's statement, so Catwoman said that he shouldn't talk about it. After arriving, Mr. President said that the room had been adjusted so that Superman could neither see nor hear them. After all, Superman was preoccupied with the problem of two communication satellites that had mysteriously collided and were about to fall out of orbit and into Russian territory. Therefore, they are at the right time to talk about important matters without the Man of Steel knowing. Mr. President said that the Justice League led by Superman began to interfere in every major conflict in the world. An example is when Superman went to the two leaders of Israel and Palestine to discuss peace between the two parties. Superman seemed to force them by showing his red eyes and threatening that he would use violence. On the other hand, Wonder Woman is also a voice for peace through her actions against armed groups in Burma, while Green Lantern and Shazam also showed their strength in the war in Syria, where they protected a city from a ballistic missile attack. Likewise, Raven intervened in a conflict between nomadic tribes in Sudan that ended up scaring them all. Mr. President feels that their actions must be stopped because he thinks that making peace is not that easy. Likewise with Batman, he justifies this because there are various reasons behind all the wars that occur. Even so, Batman still feels that peace must be upheld and someone must enforce it. He finally agreed to Mr. President's request to stop Superman. But there is one thing that must be fulfilled by a Mr. President. Catwoman firmly tells Mr. President to be a better leader if he wants to stop this regime. Catwoman says that as a leader, Mr. President should look at all aspects of society, whether it has been fulfilled or not. The reason why Superman's actions are approved by the public is because of a sense of disappointment and despair, because so far their suffering has not been heard by the government. Therefore, Catwoman asks Mr. President to change the country to have compassion so that people will side with the government again. Instead of agreeing, Mr. President was angry because he did not accept being lectured by a vigilante like Catwoman. But when Mr. President saw the sharp gaze of a Batman, his guts immediately shrank until he finally agreed to Catwoman's request. To fight Superman, Batman certainly needs help from the government, so Mr. President provides a list of superheroes who are not affiliated with Superman, so that later Batman can recruit them. Catwoman looks at the list and finds many superheroes with unique backgrounds. Since Batman already had the list, they split up to spread out in different directions looking for heroes to recruit. A while later, Catwoman went to Starling City to recruit a female superhero who was busy fighting criminals. She was known as Black Canary because of her screaming ability called Canary Cry and above-average martial arts. Instead of greeting Black Canary, Catwoman trolled the blonde woman for her revealing outfit. Black Canary, who was busy fighting the criminals, didn't really care about Catwoman's words. She immediately finished her fight with her iconic scream that made the criminals' ears hurt and finally fell to the ground. After that, Catwoman then conveyed the purpose of her arrival, where Batman wanted to meet with Black Canary. Black Canary agreed to this after she finished bringing the criminals to the police. On the other hand, Batman, who went to Washington, came to one of the superheroes in his house, Jefferson Pierce, aka Black Lightning, who was busy doing something at the time, reacted immediately when he heard someone calling his name from the window. Fortunately, Black Lightning immediately recognized who came to him that night before attacking him. As a superhero, Black Lightning is working with the housing department to find homes for 100,000 people evacuated from around Metropolis, for which Batman offers his help to Black Lightning, and in return, he must help Batman in his mission. After gathering many superheroes, Batman invited them all to his underground facility in Gotham the next day to discuss their mission. But there was one superhero who, when assigned by Batman to keep his identity secret from all heroes. Batman felt that he could not trust anyone yet, so the mysterious superhero was better off not showing his identity first. Shortly thereafter, a group of superheroes who were previously invited by Batman to join his alliance appeared. Green Arrow, who was also there at the time, said that he had not decided to side with anyone and would only listen to the results of the meeting. After everyone had gathered, Batman opened the meeting by asking everyone if they knew why they were there. Captain Atomic excitedly said, "Of course. What's our plan of attack?" One day, Billy Batson, also known as Shazam, was doing what most teenagers do, making a vlog where he asked people from all walks of life about their views on the recent actions of superheroes. There were many reactions from people of all backgrounds, ranging from support to fear because they felt that superheroes were always watching them. But then a bald man with glasses asked Billy why he was asking all those questions, and Billy immediately remembered what had happened yesterday when the Justice League was cleaning up the mess in an area. The mess was so bad that Green Lantern was lying unconscious on the ground. Seeing this, Cyborg rushed over to Green Lantern to find out who had attacked him, but their search was in vain because the person they were looking for had also escaped Superman's sight, who was at that moment rising from the rubble. When Cyborg noticed something moving quickly on his radar, he immediately grabbed his weapon to shoot the person who had already killed many people. However, without realizing it, the criminal's movements were faster than he had anticipated, causing Cyborg to lose one of his arms. The criminal they were facing was Shazam's rival Black Adam, who was rampaging against the members of the Justice League without mercy. Back to Billy, he continued his vlog by asking a man with a different perspective. He hoped that the heroes would quickly resolve their issues with the despotic rulers and return to dealing with the corrupt politicians who were merely a front for corporations and imprisoning those who had betrayed the people for personal gain. On the other hand, a Muslim woman said she had experienced the same thing, where a group of people rose up and seized power under noble pretenses. She explained that she had come to this country to escape such people, seeking a better life, but all of that was shattered because the superheroes had taken control of the world. She deeply regretted this because she had witnessed all of this before, and now found herself trapped in the same situation once again. Meanwhile, let's return to Black Adam, who is now in a corner. After receiving a hard kick from Wonder Woman and Superman, Black Adam falls to the ground and is eventually held by the two superheroes. Shazam arrives, stating that Black Adam's actions are over, but the sorcerer refuses, insisting that he will eliminate anyone who threatens the city he leads, Kahndaq. Black Adam explains that someone fired bullets that killed the children of Kahndaq, so as their leader, he cannot stand by and let that happen. With a heart that knows no mercy, Wonder Woman threatens Black Adam that they will take his powers right then and there. She then takes the lasso of truth and wraps it around Black Adam's neck so that he will tell the truth when Wonder Woman asks him questions. Although Shazam couldn't bear it, he couldn't refuse when Wonder Woman asked him to hold Black Adam, who was already helpless. Shazam knew that Wonder Woman would make Black Adam recite the magic spell to strip him of his powers, so he asked Wonder Woman to be patient because he wasn't sure Black Adam could survive the transformation. Wonder Woman, still burning with anger, still allowed Shazam to negotiate with Black Adam to stop him from killing. However, Black Adam flatly refused because he truly intended to eliminate everyone, even the entire nation that dared to threaten Kahndaq. Black Adam stated that their actions were no different from his own, so the peace the superheroes dreamed of would be achieved alongside fear from everyone. Before Black Adam utters his magical spell, he instructs Shazam to protect his beloved Kahndaq. However, Shazam remains silent, unable to bear witness to the suffering of his rival. Finally, Black Adam utters his magical spell and instantly transforms into an old man. The transformation did not kill Black Adam, and he wanted to recite the spell again to transform, but Wonder Woman quickly covered the old man's mouth, causing him to faint. After the cause of all the chaos ended, Shazam told one of the citizens who was hugging his two children that the danger was over. With great courage, a father stood up against Shazam's words, saying that their suffering was not over, because now the superheroes were always watching them like gods deciding their fate. He emphasized that Shazam would not understand that feeling because he was one of them who ruled the world arbitrarily. However, the man was unaware that behind the imposing figure with superhuman strength was a child who felt the same way. For Shazam was in truth an ordinary human named Billy Batson. To conclude the question and answer session, which had been filled with various responses from the public, Billy finally asked the person closest to him, Shazam himself. He asked Shazam whether what they had been doing all this time was right or wrong, then transformed into Shazam to answer. Shazam replied that Superman and Wonder Woman might have acted that way for the greater good and could even bring world peace. However, Billy didn't expect that answer because he wasn't a wise man, but a 12-year-old boy. Without Solomon's wisdom, Billy understood that what they did might be right, but a pair of young eyes shouldn't have to see such a dark world. The shadows of all that continued to haunt Billy, eventually influencing him. Yes, it influenced Billy Batson, and that might answer all his questions so far. A month after the tragic event that claimed many lives, the world began to slowly breathe again, though it no longer felt the same. The city that once teemed with diverse life now lies in ruins, shrouded in endless silence. However, one day, that silence was suddenly shattered by a single voice, a message that sent shockwaves across the globe. A voice familiar to everyone's ears echoed throughout the world, spreading a message that could be heard by all. I'm alive. Not only the people of the world, but the message also caught the attention of the Justice League, especially the Man of Steel, who was monitoring the situation directly from the Justice League watchtower. After hearing the message, Cyborg concluded that it was merely a recording, as the only words spoken were those two phrases repeated over and over. Despite this, Superman insisted on investigating the source of the message directly, even though the others tried to stop him. They believed the message was a trap to lure Superman to the abandoned Metropolis and attack him without considering the consequences for the city. However, Superman remained determined to go to Metropolis and stated that he would save the surviving residents of the city. Since Cyborg couldn't go due to the deadly radiation enveloping Metropolis, Green Lantern and Wonder Woman decided to accompany Superman on his journey to trace the message's source. They didn't want to take the risk of leaving Superman alone there, as they didn't know what dangers lurked outside. With the 2 Justice League members by his side, Superman would at least be safer. Upon arriving at the Dead City, Superman immediately activated his X-ray vision to scan the city for threats. However, Superman detected no threats at all. As far as the eye could see, there were only piles of corpses. Similarly, Green Lantern, using the power of his ring, saw nothing except the radio signal still broadcasting. They then searched the city for the radio signal and found its source coming from beneath a large building. The 3 of them lifted the building and discovered a narrow path leading deep underground. To prevent any unwanted incidents, Green Lantern was tasked by Wonder Woman to stay above while she and Superman went down. Upon arriving below, they saw a large bunker door still intact amidst the rubble of the building. Superman sensed a signal emanating from the bunker door, and they began to feel as though they were being watched by something there. Instantly, a sense of horror enveloped the area, but Superman remained unfazed by it. Using his X-ray vision, he scanned the area but found nothing. Meanwhile, Green Lantern, who was above, felt afraid and asked Superman to leave it and use a robot instead to check the place. Ignoring Green Lantern's words, Superman opened the bunker door and found Lex Luthor inside, healthy and unharmed. Instead of exchanging their usual deadly glances, Lex Luthor and Superman shared a joyful smile upon meeting. Superman immediately hugged Lex tightly, overjoyed to see the bald man still alive. Unlike in the main universe, Lex Luthor in this universe is a good friend of Superman and Lois Lane, so the 2 of them looked very happy when they met again. After that touching moment, Superman finally took his friend away from there before telling him everything that had happened since Metropolis was nuked. On the other side, Superman's other friend, Batman, also received news that Lex Luthor was still alive from a mysterious figure. The mysterious figure said that Lex was able to survive because he hired a speedster who wasn't as fast as Flash to take him to a bunker he had prepared in case of an emergency. Meanwhile, the speedster, whose real name was Jesse Chambers, died after taking Lex to safety because she wasn't fast enough to avoid the nuclear explosion. The mysterious figure also informed Batman that Lex Luthor had gone to meet the Justice League at the Justice League Watchtower to discuss something. Back to Lex Luthor, who was holding a meeting with the Justice League. He said that the superheroes' actions in saving the world seemed forced, even though their intentions were good. Although they had extraordinary powers, they were still not enough to maintain peace throughout the world. Rather than acting without considering the risks, Lex argues that they should plan their actions first, and he is ready to help them. Although Lex and Superman are good friends, Wonder Woman is still suspicious of Lex. To dispel their suspicions, Lex unhesitatingly reveals all of their identities, shocking them all. Lex then states, "I'm a very intelligent man. Your secret identities are no secret to me. However, I have protected your identities, and I've protected your loved ones without your knowing. You've had to trust me for a long time. You just didn't know it. Now I'd like to join you." Finally, Lex Luthor joins Superman's regime and will help him in establishing world peace. One day, Hawkgirl was flying through the air, watching her prey like a typical predator. In the blink of an eye, Hawkgirl maneuvered downward to capture her prey, a politician, with no one able to stop her. She flew away with the politician, unaware that she had been watched by other predators, Batman and Catwoman. After seeing Hawkgirl leave with her prey, Batman ordered Atomic Man to immediately seize the politician from Hawkgirl's grasp. As Hawkgirl is confused by her prey being taken away so easily, she is suddenly struck by high-voltage electricity, causing her to fall from a great height. However, the shock from black lightning is not enough to incapacitate Hawkgirl, so Huntress must shoot her with a tranquilizer to subdue her. Meanwhile, the Amazon princess was directly overseeing the refugee camp for war victims in Mogadishu. Most of the camp's inhabitants were women tightly guarded by armed male soldiers on all sides. The soldiers stationed at the camp frequently harassed the women, enraging Wonder Woman and prompting her to intervene. Like a goddess descending from the sky, Wonder Woman arrives to save a woman before she can be harassed by one of the soldiers. She pulls the soldier by the lasso of truth wrapped around his neck and drags him to the center to attract the attention of the other soldiers. With a loud voice, Wonder Woman shouts at them to leave and threatens to take their general away so he cannot cause more chaos. However, one woman said that wasn't enough because more soldiers would keep coming, so she asked Wonder Woman to stay and protect them. Since Wonder Woman couldn't keep protecting them, she eventually killed the general by crushing his head. All the soldiers were silent except for one who tried to shoot Wonder Woman, but his gun jammed. Wonder Woman firmly ordered all the soldiers to put down their weapons, and they quickly obeyed without exception. After that, she told the women to take the weapons and gave them full authority to do whatever they wanted to the soldiers. Wonder Woman then said she would return because she wouldn't leave them to suffer anymore. Of course, after Wonder Woman left, gunfire erupted as the women fired at all the soldiers they hated. Upon arriving at the watchtower, Wonder Woman had no idea about Hawkgirl's disappearance because she had turned off her communication device. They thought Hawkgirl had been kidnapped by Captain Atom, Black Lightning, and Huntress. But Lex had a different perspective, believing that Batman was the mastermind behind the kidnapping. Although Batman was not visible there, he was certain that this was Batman's doing, as that was how the Dark Knight always operated, in the shadows. Lex stated that Superman needed to expand his power, which was too small, as the Justice League alone was insufficient to monitor the entire world. For that reason, Lex had another plan to ensure Superman could have a larger army. On the other hand, Batman has successfully imprisoned Hawkgirl in a secret location. Although his actions don't seem heroic in Catwoman's eyes, Batman plans to keep Hawkgirl there for a week. This immediately confuses Catwoman, as they will surely search every corner of the world for Hawkgirl. However, Batman calmly says no, because he has sent someone who looks exactly like Hawkgirl into the Justice League to avoid suspicion, while also serving as Batman's eyes and ears there. This way, Batman can learn about the Justice League's future plans, which now have an additional mastermind named Lex Luthor. After learning of Hawkgirl's existence, the situation at Watchtower grew increasingly tense as she delivered an important message to them. The fake Hawkgirl conveyed a message from Batman, urging them to stop what they were doing, which sparked a heated debate with the other superheroes. Shazam and Flash were the two superheroes who agreed with the message as their beliefs began to waver regarding the actions they had taken. With full awareness, Flash voiced his true opinion, opposing what they had been doing all along and choosing to pause and reflect on it. Wonder Woman responded that everything they had done was for world peace, but Flash immediately countered with the fact that they had frightened the Atlanteans by bringing them into the middle of the desert, even paralyzing an Australian youth who had only wanted to stand up for his people. Superman, not knowing what to say, could only argue that their actions had saved more people than usual, even though there were unpleasant things involved. However, Flash refuted this statement again, causing Wonder Woman to get angry and tell Flash to leave. Shazam also voiced his disagreement when they tried to take Black Adam's power, which could have killed him at that moment. Although Black Adam had committed a serious crime by massacring a village, Shazam still couldn't bring himself to do it, because he considered their actions at that time to be a form of bullying that couldn't be justified. The conflict escalated further as Shazam loudly questioned Superman's leadership for refusing to listen to anyone's questions. Robin, who had been observing the conflict, finally spoke up about their actions, which were now being driven by their father. Having been raised by Batman since childhood, Robin knew his father's nature well. According to him, Batman had released Hawkgirl as a weapon to become a little doubt bomb that would destroy the Justice League from within. Robin's statement was supported by Lex, leaving the fake Hawkgirl even more cornered. Seeing the situation escalate, Lex tries to calm things down by asking everyone to control their emotions, since they are currently on a satellite. He suggests that Superman communicate with his allies and consider their feelings as well as those of people around the world. He also offers to help Superman craft the message, which will then be broadcast globally. Superman agreed to the idea and invited all members of the Justice League to join the plan, eventually making the situation there more conducive. Meanwhile, on the planet Apocalypse, Kalibak, the son of Darkseid, was seen rushing to his father. He brought news from Earth that Superman had called for the battle to stop, which made Kalibak very eager to attack Earth just to test the peace created by the Kryptonian. Darkseid, who was torturing someone at the time, immediately granted his son's request to conquer Earth, as he was more interested in the torture he would inflict on a godlike entity named Black Racer, than dealing with the Man of Steel. After drafting a message to be delivered to the public, Superman, accompanied by Lex Luthor, was preparing to spread it throughout the world. At first, Superman seemed a little hesitant about his friend's plan, but Lex assured him that this was something Clark had to do. As the organizer of the event, Lex opened with a speech praising Superman as the hero who saved the city from destruction. This boosted Superman's confidence, and he became more determined to go through with it. Superman began his speech by apologizing for their actions that had frightened everyone. Despite being considered an alien, Superman still loved Earth, where he had grown up, and considered himself one of them. Superman also stated that he would always protect Earth as long as he had the strength to do so, as he did not want to remain idle like before. Superman acknowledged that their actions had been extreme, but many lives had been saved as a result. For that reason, Superman concluded his speech with a message they had prepared together. Your lives are important. We just want you to be safe. However, the carefully planned speech is disrupted by Kalibak, who arrives with an army of parademons to suddenly attack Earth. Superman quickly orders Shazam and Wonder Woman, who have been guarding him from behind, to spread out and save the people. Without realizing it, a hot laser beam was fired at Superman, burning his suit to ashes. Kalibak, who fired the laser, felt confident because he thought Superman, who didn't want to fight anymore, was now weak. As a result of the shot, Superman curled up in pain for a moment, causing Kalibak to grow arrogant and underestimate him. However, with full anger, Superman rose up, making Kalibak realize he had made a huge mistake. After being attacked by Kalibak's painful laser, Superman rose up in anger, terrifying Darkseid's son. Superman's gaze made it clear that he wasn't playing around with what he was going to do to Kalibak, because Superman had promised to protect Earth from any threat. In the blink of an eye, Superman flew towards Kalibak and punched him so hard that he was thrown into the sky and crashed into one of the planes in flight. Quickly, Superman called Wonder Woman, who immediately came to catch the plane before it crashed to the ground. Without mercy, Superman, who was engulfed in flames of rage, continued to punch Kalibak until they were both out of the atmosphere. Meanwhile, the members of the Justice League at the Watchtower also witnessed the incident. They immediately rushed to Paris to assist the superheroes there in facing the Apocalypse forces. However, the attack was not limited to Paris alone. The Apocalypse forces were also attacking other areas such as Shanghai, Moscow, Mumbai, and Istanbul, forcing them to spread out to protect other regions. Meanwhile, Batman and his team remained at their base analyzing the situation. Batman concluded that this alien invasion was not ordinary, as they were targeting cities with the highest populations in the world. This meant the aliens intended to kill as many people as possible, leading Batman to believe Gotham would be their next target, especially since it was one of the most densely populated cities, especially after the destruction of Metropolis. Batman orders his team to go out and fight the aliens, but Catwoman and Black Canary object because most of them are ordinary superheroes. Black Canary bluntly states that they need Superman on their side. Back to the battle between Superman and Kalibak. They have now reached the moon, where Superman continues to attack Kalibak. Despite receiving constant attacks from Superman, Kalibak seems unfazed, still able to smile. According to Kalibak, the Kryptonians' powerful strength is still not enough to be feared, so they will continue to come and invade Earth. Kalibak then presses a button to summon thousands of parademons who immediately attack Superman and turn the tables. This leaves Superman helpless as Kalibak chokes him while saying that Superman will not win this time. He then ordered Superman to listen to the screams of suffering from people on Earth to prove that the Man of Steel couldn't save them. However, instead of getting angry, Superman tries to stay calm after hearing the insults, before finally exploding like a bomb. Using the laser beams in his eyes, Superman obliterates the entire Apocalypse army, leaving only Kalibak alone. The screams of Earth's people have transformed the Kryptonian into an unstoppable force. The attack on Earth continues unabated as the relentless forces of Apocalypse keep emerging, leaving the Justice League overwhelmed and struggling to contain them. This situation prompts Green Lantern to consider seeking assistance from Batman's team. However, Batman and his team are also struggling to cope with the Apocalypse forces for the same reason. Their only hope now lies with Superman, who is currently engaged in a fierce battle with Kalibak elsewhere. Superman no longer believes in the principle of forgiving enemies who have surrendered. He continues to beat Kalibak mercilessly, even after Kalibak has declared his defeat. With no other choice, Kalibak is forced to fight back, striking Superman hard in the face. However, the blow is like a breeze to Superman, who remains standing tall, withstanding the force of Kalibak's punch. Superman, now consumed by the flames of anger, refuses to forgive Kalibak, even as he pleads and threatens to call his father. However, all the actions Superman has taken have stripped him of his moral compass, and the Man of Steel continues to torture Kalibak, even though he is a god. In the end, Superman ended his attack with a combo that buried Kalibak's head in the ground while shouting, "I don't care." After defeating Kalibak, Superman approached one of the few humans who could move as fast as him, Flash, to speak. Although the world moved slowly for them, Flash asked Superman to wait a moment because he was currently saving a woman from a parademon attack. However, Superman felt that he had to speak to Flash at that very moment, so Flash had no choice but to listen to the Man of Steel's explanation. Superman said that his mind was still consumed by Kalibak's taunts, who had mocked him as a superhero, saying that Superman would rather eliminate his enemies than save everyone, leaving the Man of Steel confused about what to do. Flash tries to calm the Kryptonian by telling him not to dwell on Kalibak's words, but Superman feels that what Kalibak said was true, even if it sounded crazy. With his resolve still burning within him, Superman tells Flash to kill all their enemies because he feels that things must change. Flash then asks Superman if he wants to kill them all, and Superman, filled with doubt, answers that he doesn't really want to do it, but the situation is forcing him to. Flash then concluded that Superman had not come to talk, but to ask for permission to kill them all. The teenager with lightning powers could only apologize because he did not have the authority to grant him permission to do so. Finally, Superman, still full of doubt, flew into the sky to unleash his final move. Superman fought against all the doubts that surrounded him with one belief, that he would save humanity by killing the entire Apocalypse army. The Kryptonian then flew at high speed through the Earth's atmosphere with the aim of becoming a meteor that would circle the Earth to destroy the entire Apocalypse army. In an instant, Superman eliminates the entire Apocalypse army, creating a beautiful moment for Green Arrow and Black Canary, who share a kiss amidst the chaos. Meanwhile, Batman and Batwoman continue to fight the Apocalypse army relentlessly until Superman arrives, breaking through the sky above Gotham City and destroying the entire Apocalypse army in an instant. Instead of being happy, Batman looked disappointed with what his old friend had done. The Dark Knight could only stand silently, staring at the sky as Superman flew away, destroying the Apocalypse army. Flash couldn't hide his disappointment behind his red mask either. Meanwhile, Wonder Woman and Lex Luthor looked very proud of what Superman had done. Lex then raised Superman's hand, which was met with cheers from the crowd, who continued to shout Superman's name as the hero who had saved them. After Superman defeated the entire Apocalypse army single-handedly, people all over the world sang Superman's name in joy. He was considered a hero who had saved the Earth, but Batman did not seem happy with the celebration. Even though Superman had saved many lives, Batman saw it from the opposite perspective, where Superman had also taken many lives. Like Batman, Superman did not enjoy the celebration at all because he felt he had lost many things from this incident. However, Wonder Woman continued to encourage the Man of Steel by saying that what he had done was extraordinary, even though he could not be everywhere at once. Therefore, Superman had an idea that they needed many superheroes like them to monitor the whole world from various sides. All the wars they had stopped before would be in vain if those wars happened again. Wonder Woman said that there were no more superheroes like them. And in that confusion, Lex, the new mastermind of the Justice League, said that they would soon have them. Meanwhile, at the Insurgency headquarters, a heated debate ensues between Huntress and Batman regarding this event. Huntress criticizes Batman for refusing to acknowledge Superman as a hero who saved everyone because Batman sees him from a different perspective. Huntress looks very upset because Batman continues to refute her statement until she brings up Green Arrow and Black Canary in the debate. Huntress was so angry that she even called Bruce a hypocrite and arrogant, which upset Batman because she had revealed his identity. Huntress's words confused several members of the insurgency, especially Captain Atom and Batwoman, who mocked him by saying, "Bruce striking terror into the hearts of criminals." Tired of arguing with Batman, who remained silent after his identity was revealed, Huntress announced her resignation from the insurgency because she felt Superman was doing the right thing. However, Catwoman firmly asked Huntress to listen to Batman's explanation first. The Dark Knight finally explained that Superman and Lex Luthor were planning to create a private army with superpowers. Black Lightning asked Batman how he knew this, and Batman replied that he couldn't tell him. This dishonesty disgusted Huntress because Batman asked them to follow him, but he himself didn't trust them. However, to refute this statement, Batman consciously removed his mask to reveal that the person hiding behind it was a famous billionaire named Bruce Wayne. Captain Atom and Green Arrow were very surprised by this fact, but even more surprising was the chaos that suddenly broke out in Gotham City. Batman and the others quickly moved to the scene, where he asked Captain Atom to immediately disperse the crowd because he was the fastest to arrive there. It turned out that a group of people who seemed to be worshippers of something had flooded the streets of Gotham, causing massive chaos as they drove everyone away from Crime Alley and the surrounding blocks. On the way, Batman explained that they were a cult that had worshipped Superman for a long time. This cult was tasked with continuing Superman's work and would continue to grow over time, especially after Superman successfully saved everyone from the Apocalypse Army. When Captain Atom arrived at the location, he firmly asked them to stop what they were doing. However, they flatly refused, which annoyed Green Arrow so much that he fired an arrow with a boxing glove tip at one of the cult members. "Time to go back to whatever intolerant hole you crawled out of," said Green Arrow, who appeared with other members of the insurgency. The attack did not dampen their spirits at all, and Green Arrow even had the nerve to mock the cult's dresses, prompting Batman to reprimand Green Arrow for his foolishness. Batman quickly blocked a shotgun fired by one of the cult members, resulting in a fight between the insurgency and the group of Superman worshippers. Before Batman and the others beat them to a pulp, the Justice League arrived to stop the riot. Wonder Woman, acting as Superman's diplomat, ordered them to stop and go home. Green Arrow said they would handle the chaos, but Wonder Woman rudely kicked them out, saying, "You're not needed here. Leave." Meanwhile, the reunion between Batman and Superman was very tense, with the two leaders exchanging sharp glances in silence without saying a word. To prevent anything unwanted from happening, Catwoman immediately approached Batman and asked him to leave, and finally, Batman and his team left without receiving any respect. One day, Lex Luthor was seen busy with his project at Superman's Fortress of Solitude. Superman's father, who was also there at the time, approached Lex and criticized the work of the bald genius. But Lex himself felt very proud of his work, which could give power to ordinary people like them. However, Mrs. Kent felt that her son Clark did not need such super science medicine because her maternal instinct told her that what Clark really needed was someone to talk to. Lex denied this because he felt that Superman's thoughts were difficult for ordinary people like them to understand. But Mr. and Mrs. Kent knew that their son was more hurt than he had ever been before. Meanwhile, Flash, who had previously questioned all of Superman's actions, returned and asked the Kryptonian about his decision to let Lex Luthor create the super soldier drug there. Superman looked unhappy with the question, but he was confident in Lex's actions even though they sounded extreme. Superman's statement immediately provoked Flash, who said that it was the work of a mad scientist. Superman suddenly invited Flash to play chess, which confused him. Superman invited Flash to play chess because he wanted to have a casual conversation with him without using emotions while thinking with his brain. Since Flash hadn't played chess in a long time, he learned the game at the Watchtower in just a few seconds. After that, they played at an unbelievable speed, considering that both of them are superheroes who can think and move very quickly. At the beginning of the game, Superman came up with a crazy idea where he wanted to get rid of firearms, which led to Flash being checkmated. Back to Lex at Superman's Fortress of Solitude. Mrs. Kent tells a story about how little Clark used to have a favorite blanket that he always carried with him everywhere. He loved the blanket so much that he held onto it tightly, even though it was dirty, forbidding Mrs. Kent from washing it. However, one day the blanket was taken by a dog without little Clark's knowledge. After searching everywhere, Clark finally became frustrated and threw a tantrum like a normal child. But the difference was that little Clark was able to flip a tractor 20 times bigger than his body like it was a toy tractor. It was at that moment that Mr. and Mrs. Kent realized they had raised a child with extraordinary powers. After hearing the story, Lex finally realized that Clark was actually just an ordinary human being like them who could feel fear. On the other hand, the chess match between Flash and Superman was heating up, with Flash always losing. Flash's mind was still preoccupied with Superman's words because Flash thought that they would never be able to get rid of the firearms, but Superman believed that they could do it. However, Flash's intention here was different because what he meant was that they should take the firearms from those who were willing to surrender them and not just seize them. Superman seemed indifferent and even knew that they would be hated by all the criminals in the world if they did that. Casually, Superman challenged them by saying, "Let them come at us with sticks." Back to Lex, who was still being advised by Mr. and Mrs. Kent. Mr. Kent said that Superman's tantrums were different from those of ordinary humans. As the smartest person in the world, Mr. Kent questioned Lex's genius, who still couldn't see that Clark actually needed help. Lex was immediately disappointed to hear this question because he felt a little guilty about what he had done. Mrs. Kent explained that despite his extraordinary abilities, Clark was just an ordinary human being who could make mistakes. After suffering a series of defeats, it was Flash's turn to turn the tables. Superman finally asked Flash, as a forensic scientist, how many lives he had seen taken by firearms. Flash casually ignored the question and stated that cigarettes had killed more people than firearms. This was because people were aware that cigarettes were dangerous, but they still smoked without caring about the risks. Therefore, Flash came up with his crazy idea of getting rid of cigarettes worldwide, which led to Superman's first defeat. Flash said that if Superman really wanted to save the world, they had to start doing crazy things like imprisoning people who drove fast, imprisoning people who let their dogs run loose, and even killing anyone who didn't recycle. All of Flash's statements instantly made Superman think, causing him to be checkmated by Flash many times. Meanwhile, Lex reveals that he believes in Superman's cause because deep down, Lex still feels guilty about what happened to Metropolis. He feels guilty because he was the only one who survived the nuclear bomb that fell on Metropolis. This prompts Mrs. Kent to ask Lex to open his eyes and look around him. Superman is a child who lived when his biological parents died, lived when his world died, lived when his city died, and lived when his wife and child died. Mrs. Kent feels that Superman has endured so much pain from these losses that she is convinced Superman cannot feel that loss anymore. That is why Mr. and Mrs. Kent are placed there because Superman feels they are in a safe place. Mr. Kent feared that his son would put the whole world in a fortress just to keep everyone safe. So he asked Lex, Superman's only friend, to show Superman the right thing to do someday. In the end, Mr. Kent said, "I fear a day may come when the world needs to be saved from our son. All I ask is that, on that day, you find a way to save him too." After perfecting his greatest creation, a pill that would give ordinary people superpowers, Lex Luthor proudly presented his masterpiece to all the members of the Justice League. This sparked many questions, including from Little Robin, who seemed incredulous at what he was hearing. Superman explained his plan to give the pill to trusted individuals, so Lex said they needed to make a list for that purpose. Superman added that they needed many people to help them monitor the entire world. However, Green Lantern thought that Superman was planning to create a superpower army to monitor the entire world, but Lex, the man who created the pill, denied this, saying that they only wanted to create a peacekeeping force. Hawkgirl, who rarely spoke, suddenly asked Superman what the risk would be if the pills fell into the wrong hands. With a look of uncertainty, Superman replied that this would not happen because the technology they had created was not only to protect the world, but also to protect them all with the power it gave them. When the meeting was over and everyone had left, Robin quietly took the pill that had been left behind and took it with him. He went to the Justice League's teleportation room and typed in his destination, Gotham City. Unbeknownst to him, Hawkgirl was following behind him and saw where Robin was going. It turned out that Robin was going to the Batcave because he missed Nightwing, who was gone forever. He placed his small hand on the tube that stored Nightwing's clothes and whispered, "I'm sorry." Although his voice was soft, the sentence was heard by Alfred, who was alone guarding the Batcave at the time and immediately approached his young master. They started a small conversation where Alfred revealed that he had sent a personal letter to Robin, but Robin still didn't know how to reply. While they were talking, Batman suddenly arrived in his Batmobile and got out to ask his son what he was doing there. Robin did not answer his father's question at all and instead walked away indifferently, as did Batman. However, Alfred quickly approached Batman and asked him to stop his son and to stop being Batman. Batman agreed to Alfred's request and asked Robin to stop because he wanted to talk. Robin, who was still angry with his father, immediately blamed Batman for leaving him in Arkham, but Batman argued that he left Robin because he disobeyed his orders. However, Robin felt that this was not true because he believed that his father was just being selfish. Angry at his father's behavior, Robin decided to leave again, even though Alfred asked him to listen to his father first. Without Robin realizing it, he pushed Alfred so hard that he broke the screen behind him, causing himself and Batman to panic. With an angry expression, Batman tried to approach Robin to stop him, but Robin spontaneously threw his father with a force punch, causing Batman to be thrown into a giant coin. As a result, the giant coin's handle came loose and was about to fall on Alfred. Hawkgirl quickly came to hold the coin and saved Alfred from the incident. Robin approached Alfred in a panic and apologized for his behavior, and even though his head was bleeding, the first thing Alfred looked for was Batman, who had just woken up from the debris that had fallen on him. Hawkgirl, who arrived uninvited, tried to take Robin away, but Batman firmly told Hawkgirl to leave Robin there. Strangely, Hawkgirl obeyed Batman's words even though she was a member of the Justice League who was very loyal to Superman. This raised a big question mark in Robin's mind, from why Hawkgirl obeyed Batman to how she knew the location of the Batcave. In his mind, Robin continued to connect several events that had happened to Hawkgirl some time ago until earlier during the Justice League meeting, and discovered the oddity that Hawkgirl's powers felt stronger than before. To prove whether the person holding him was Hawkgirl or not, Robin threw a firebomb and discovered the shocking fact that it was Martian Manhunter who had been pretending to be Hawkgirl all this time. His fear of fire had exposed his disguise, and in the end, Robin disappeared, taking with him the information about Hawkgirl's true identity, which Batman had been hiding all along. This news would undoubtedly mark the beginning of an escalating conflict between Batman and Superman. After several days of posing as a member of the Justice League, Martian Manhunter's true identity, who had been posing as Hawkgirl, was revealed by Robin, who immediately reported it to all members of the Justice League. Wonder Woman explained that Martian Manhunter had been spying on the Justice League to gather information and give it to Batman. This came as a shock to everyone, especially Flash, who still couldn't believe what the Dark Knight had done. Robin firmly stated that this was something Batman often did. He also said that no one knew his father as well as he did, even though he himself did not fully understand his father. Robin explained that Batman would do anything to achieve his goals, one example being when he saw Batman's file containing the personal information of all the Justice League members. Batman would use this highly confidential personal information against them if they dared to mess with him. After hearing this explanation, Lex suggested that Superman bring everyone back because they had to keep each other close. However, Superman felt that this was Batman's plan to force them into a defensive mode so that he could take control of the situation. To prevent this from happening, Superman asked Cyborg to broadcast an emergency message to the whole world so he could convey what he considered to be very important information. Superman began by informing everyone on Earth that Batman, who was supposed to be a superhero, had betrayed them all. Superman then told them that Batman had been spying on them for a week and was holding Hawkgirl somewhere to get what he wanted. Therefore, as a form of retaliation for what Batman had done, Superman consciously said that he would reveal Batman's identity to the whole world. Hearing this, Batman quickly activated the Icarus Protocol to quickly stop the broadcast. The world was immediately confused by Superman's statement because the broadcast was cut off before Superman could reveal Batman's identity. Green Arrow and Black Canary, who were watching TV at the time, looked very confused by what was happening, but Green Arrow was certain that something bad was about to happen. Apparently, Batman's actions had also deactivated the entire watchtower, causing it to lose power and rendering it unable to operate normally, which also eliminated gravity there. It was so dangerous that Batman's actions also deactivated the life support system, which could endanger all the inhabitants of the watchtower in the near future. In this extremely tense situation, Superman did not panic at all and even refused Lex's request to immediately move the watchtower to Earth. He refused because he did not want to give Batman time to make a contingency plan to protect his identity. Therefore, Superman quickly asked Cyborg to continue broadcasting his message to the whole world to reveal Batman's true identity. However, the watchtower's power outage prevented them from continuing to broadcast the message to the whole world. While everyone was panicking, Robin appeared to be calmer and came up with a brilliant idea to ensure that Superman's message still reached Earth. He asked Cyborg, who was known as a living computer, and Lex, who was known as the smartest man in the world, to spread the message online. After posting the message on Superman's official social media account, the world was immediately shocked by the message that read, "Batman is Bruce Wayne." In just a moment, the post was reposted 2 million times by people all over the world. Superman's mission to reveal Batman's identity was successful, and now they can immediately land Watchtower on Earth. To confirm Robin's feelings about what had happened, Wonder Woman approached Robin and asked if he was okay with what had happened. Without hesitation, Robin said that he was completely fine and even wanted to help. Wonder Woman praised Robin's courage, saying that it was not easy to do such a thing. After securing everyone in their seats, Superman and Wonder Woman flew down to push the watchtower so it could land on Earth. The speed of the watchtower's fall caused it to be engulfed in flames due to friction with the Earth's atmosphere, causing Cyborg to panic a little and ask Superman and Wonder Woman to slow down because they had not run out of oxygen yet. A few moments later, Superman and Wonder Woman finally managed to land the watchtower on Earth precisely in a snowy area. Batman, who already knew that his identity had been revealed, could only remain silent as he watched the post spread around the world. In that silence, Alfred arrived with the news that countless news helicopters had surrounded his residence. Batman apologized to Alfred, who had come to bring him a piece of paper. Alfred said that he knew this day would come and had prepared everything. Alfred explained that all of Wayne Industries' assets would be secured, as well as the trust funds and charities, which would also be protected. Alfred also explained that the paper contained a list of everything Batman might want to take with him when he left the manor as soon as possible. Batman thanked him and, as usual, sacrificed himself by telling Alfred to leave immediately. Alfred appreciated this noble sacrifice, but Batman did not know that Alfred was the first thing he would take with him when he had to leave the manor. This was proof that Alfred would always be loyal to Bruce Wayne, also known as Batman. Elsewhere, Wonder Woman appears to be in pain, bleeding from her nose. Fully conscious, Wonder Woman screams for Superman to burn her with his laser. Without hesitation, Superman does so, setting Wonder Woman's entire body ablaze. But before we continue, let's flash back to when Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, and Flash were about to visit Batman in the Batcave. Superman says that they will only rescue Hawkgirl from Batman and then leave without having to fight, which sounds ironic to Green Lantern, considering that they brought a lot of big weapons just to talk to Batman. When they arrived, Wonder Woman knew that Batman had been waiting for them, and was definitely unhappy with what they had done before. Sure enough, when Wonder Woman was about to knock on the secret entrance to the Batcave, Superman sensed Batman's presence. With a sharp gaze, Batman greeted them by saying, "You took my life." Wonder Woman, who heard this, immediately became emotional because she knew Batman could create a new one. However, when Wonder Woman asked where Hawkgirl was, Batman firmly replied that he was not holding Hawkgirl. Wonder Woman thought Batman was lying again, but it turned out that the Dark Knight had indeed released Hawkgirl, who suddenly came to visit the Watchtower. To check whether it was really Hawkgirl and not Martian Manhunter, Lex gave Hawkgirl a lit match. Hawkgirl casually extinguishes the flame with her hand, proving that the person in front of them is indeed the real Hawkgirl. After hearing that Hawkgirl has returned to the Watchtower, Wonder Woman, who was angry at first, immediately looks confused about what to say. So that they don't go home in vain, Wonder Woman threatens Batman not to mess with them anymore, or they will respond with violence. However, Batman, with his stubborn nature, did not listen to Wonder Woman, and instead chose to leave them. Flash quickly prevented Batman from leaving because they wanted to talk to him, but Batman responded with the most unexpected move: flying into the sky. When he saw Batman could fly, Flash could only stare silently at the sky because he could not have guessed that. Meanwhile, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, and Superman immediately flew after Batman, who turned out to be Martian Manhunter, leaving Flash alone below. When Martian Manhunter flew into a cloud, he suddenly disappeared, leaving the three of them confused. Remembering that Martian Manhunter is a shapeshifter, Wonder Woman said that he could transform into anything and wasn't really gone. To find Martian Manhunter, Green Lantern used his ring to check the surroundings, but before he could do so, Green Lantern was suddenly hit by a very hard blow that knocked him down. Wonder Woman quickly flew down to try to save Green Lantern, but Superman just stood still and looked around. Superman remained silent because he knew Martian Manhunter was behind him, and when everyone had left, Martian Manhunter revealed himself and approached the Man of Steel to talk. Martian Manhunter said that Batman had long since left the Batcave, but Superman was not interested in the topic, because he was curious as to why Martian Manhunter was fighting him. Like Batman, Martian Manhunter knew what would happen to Superman if they continued to let him do all this. To explain what he meant, Martian Manhunter showed Superman his vision of his former planet, which had been destroyed. Martian Manhunter explained that he had been colonized on his own planet, controlled and made part of a weak species dominated by a stronger species. He had experienced what it was like to be separated from his loved ones and become powerless, just like Superman had been. While Martian Manhunter was explaining, Wonder Woman suddenly came and stopped him by force because she thought the alien was trying to influence Superman's mind. Martian Manhunter immediately turned into a slime that walked into Wonder Woman's hand and tried to enter the Amazon princess's body. Martian Manhunter said that Wonder Woman had discriminated against him because she trusted aliens who looked like her more than green aliens like him. Martian Manhunter was also tired of the two of them because they always underestimated him and felt invincible. Therefore, Martian Manhunter will prove that this is wrong by entering Wonder Woman's body and choking her lungs to cut off oxygen to her brain. Martian Manhunter said that the world would be safer if the Amazon princess was not in it. Back to the opening scene, this is the moment where Wonder Woman asks Superman to burn her so that Martian Manhunter can be removed from her body. With no other option, Superman finally follows Wonder Woman's request and burns her until Martian Manhunter is engulfed in flames and forced out. After doing so, Superman and Wonder Woman are convinced that Martian Manhunter is dead because his body has melted like slime and been washed away into the open sea. Meanwhile, Batman, who is watching from a distance, can only remain silent as he witnesses one of his members die a cruel death at the hands of Superman. 6 years ago, before Superman turned Earth into his kingdom, the world seemed so beautiful because there were no restrictions. A blonde-haired boy named James looked very happy riding his bike down the hill in the afternoon. Like most children, James pedaled his bike down the hill with curiosity. Soon after, the smile on his face instantly disappeared because James accidentally hit a rock, causing him to fall off his bike. James fell quite hard, his face kissing the grass and dirt on the hill. Suddenly, James heard a familiar voice asking how he was. James was shocked and amazed to see Superman with a friendly smile coming to help him, so much so that he didn't answer Superman's question because he couldn't believe his eyes. The Man of Steel took James's bike and tried to fix it, but his kind gesture only made James's wheels look worse. To make up for his mistake, Superman offered James a ride home by flying with one of the world's greatest superheroes. They flew over the city of Metropolis, known as the City of Tomorrow. During the trip, Superman apologized for what he had done to James's bike, but it wasn't a big deal for James, who considered Superman's mistake to be normal. After flying for quite a while, James was still not satisfied, saying that they had not yet arrived at his house. Superman knew that James was lying so that he could fly with him again, and he didn't seem to mind. Finally, they flew around the block once more before returning to James's house. When they arrived, James, who was home alone, offered Superman a sandwich. But something was bothering Superman, so he had to leave immediately. As a child full of imagination, James thought Superman would fight a terrifying monster like a zombie shark. But this time, Superman was only facing ordinary criminals. James thanked him for the ride, and Superman replied briefly before finally speeding away. Although Metropolis is one of the most prosperous cities in the world, that reputation does not rule out the possibility of crime. After leaving James's house, Superman flew to a small alley to stop two criminals who appeared to be planning a robbery. Superman knew that the criminals did not have any bullets, and they admitted that they did not want to hurt anyone. As a result, Superman only gave them a warning and told them to leave, while taking off their masks and leaving their weapons behind. Back at James's house, his mother, who had just returned from work, was greeted by James's broken bicycle, which was clearly visible in front of the door. His mother asked what had happened to his bike, and James casually replied that he had fallen and Superman had made it worse. Instead of getting angry, James's mother left immediately, ignoring James's unreasonable excuse because she was already very tired from work. On the other hand, Lois was seen waiting for someone on top of the building where she worked. That person was none other than Superman. After stopping two robbers, Superman immediately went to see Lois to relieve his longing. The two then told each other about their problems that day, where Superman only told her that he had helped a child who had fallen off his bike. After meeting and leaving a sweet kiss for Lois, Superman flew back to save the world. Meanwhile, James, who was injured, was finally treated by his mother. He told her that Superman had come to help him that day and brought him home. Seeing that James was still a child, his mother did not believe his story at all, because James always made up stories about zombie sharks. However, a moment later, James's words were proven true when the Man of Steel arrived and stood at their front door. His mother looked shocked and amazed, unable to say anything. Superman had come to give James a new wheel after he accidentally broke his bike wheel earlier. Seeing this, James smiled happily, because Superman had gone out of his way to come back just to give him a new wheel. However, that is now just a memory because the world has changed with Superman in it. James, who is now studying in Gotham City, deeply misses the Superman who once inspired many people, and was even willing to help a child who fell off his bike. In his view, Superman has lost his good side and doesn't realize he has become a cruel dictator. "I miss the city of tomorrow and the man of yesterday," James said, as he left behind memories that would never be forgotten. One night, the ringing of the phone suddenly woke Mr. President, who was resting at his residence. The person who dared to disturb Mr. President in the middle of the night was Batman, who needed his help because they were in trouble. Batman said he needed Mr. President to create a distraction that seemed to be quite significant. On the other hand, Black Canary and Green Arrow were seen walking together towards a unisex restroom. It was unclear what these two lovebirds were up to, but it seemed that they had received a message from Batman to go to a secret hideout. After arriving at the address Batman had given Black Canary, it was Green Arrow's turn to look for the bathroom that matched Batman's description, as he had given him the number 3. At first, Green Arrow is not sure if it was Batman who sent the message, but considering how complicated the message is, Black Canary feels that it was indeed Batman. The two of them enter toilet number 3 and joke that this is not the first time they have done something naughty in there. Suddenly, the toilet that people usually use to defecate said that they had been identified. They then scanned their retinas using the device provided, and the toilet suddenly turned into an elevator that went down. Green Arrow said that the toilet elevator was the most classless hiding place he had ever been to. After arriving at the bottom, it turned out that Batman had gathered with the other members of insurgencies. Black Lightning was angry at Batman for kidnapping Hawkgirl without talking to them first. He said that he would never agree with what Batman had done, and Black Canary agreed with Black Lightning on this matter. Batman finally admitted that he needed someone to be a spy in the Justice League and had no intention of holding her for too long. They said that Batman should have told them about this, as well as Martian Manhunter's involvement in their operation. Batman firmly stated that Martian Manhunter was dead because Superman had burned him alive, shocking everyone in the room. Batman then continued that he had received an encrypted message stating that Superman and Luthor had finished creating their super pill. The message also revealed the location where the pill was stored, namely Superman's Fortress of Solitude. Although Batman didn't say anything, Green Arrow knew that he planned to break into the fortress, which he called Superman's impenetrable fortress, to steal the pill. Batman explained that this might be their only chance to restore balance, considering that Superman had changed. Shortly thereafter, Batman received a message that Mr. President had granted Batman's request from the night before. Mr. President ordered the US Navy to go to the Korean Peninsula as if they wanted to go to war, just to attract Superman's attention so that Batman and his team could steal the magic pills. Batman asked Catwoman, Captain Atom, and Black Canary to go with him to help him, which angered Green Arrow because he felt left out. Batman insisted that he was only taking a few important people to complete this mission, namely Catwoman as the best thief in the world, Captain Atom as someone who could at least hold Superman back, and Black Canary who could break Kryptonian crystals with her screams. Green Arrow does not accept this reasoning because he is Black Canary's boyfriend and should be going with her. Tired of hearing the two men argue, Black Canary says they must hurry before time runs out. Finally, Green Arrow was also included in this operation, which was located in the North Pole. Batman deliberately teleported to an area that was not too close to Superman's fortress so that they would not be detected. He also asked Captain Atom to bring Catwoman so that she could find a way into the fortress while Superman and the Justice League were busy with the ships. However, something strange happened where the Navy soldiers did not see any signs of Superman or any other superheroes arriving. It turned out that Superman did not go to the ships, but instead went to the president's residence. After finding the entrance to the fortress, Green Arrow was unsure of Wonder Woman's ability to open a door that was 100 times bigger than herself. However, Catwoman then proved that she was indeed the best thief in the world by opening the door without any difficulty. She then ordered Captain Atom to move to open the giant door. On the other hand, Superman, who was still at Mr. President's residence, asked him to immediately stop the ship that was heading for the Korean Peninsula. To buy time, Mr. President dared to defy Superman, who had arrived in a rage. However, Superman suddenly realized that something was wrong there and immediately used his X-ray vision to see what was happening. Meanwhile, Batman, who had entered Superman's fortress, was very surprised by what he found inside. He saw Mr. and Mrs. Kent welcoming them to leave immediately, but at the same time, Superman launched himself from the president's residence to the North Pole at lightning speed. Without further ado, Batman immediately obeyed Superman's parents' request and left immediately. This seemed unreasonable to Green Arrow because they left immediately after hearing Superman's parents' words. However, Batman had another reason. He knew that his trap would not work because Superman would be very angry if he knew they had gone to his parents. Before he had a chance to inform Captain Atom, Batman was very surprised to find out that Superman had brought Captain Atom back in a helpless condition. After finding Batman and his team at his fortress, Superman arrived in a rage and choked Captain Atom, who appeared helpless. Batman and the others immediately prepared themselves for Superman's attack. Meanwhile, Mr. and Mrs. Kent, who looked very worried, tried to tell Superman that they were fine, and asked him to release Captain Atom from his grip. However, Superman, who was consumed by rage, was unable to think clearly, so he continued to choke Captain Atom until he regained consciousness. Captain Atom quickly counterattacked by firing radiation from his hands at Superman, who was off guard at that moment. The attack hit Superman's ice fortress, causing several pieces of ice to fall and block the path. Green Arrow, who had quickly rescued Superman's parents, had to part ways with Batman and the others, while Black Canary, worried about her lover, told Batman and Catwoman to retreat because she would use her powers to save Green Arrow. However, Batman said that it was a futile effort because her scream would only bury them in ice. Catwoman said that they had to leave immediately before Superman arrived, but Black Canary insisted that she would not leave without her lover. To convince his lover, Green Arrow reminded Black Canary of what she had said before going there, that they had to complete the mission because they had very little time. Black Canary still refused because she felt that the situation was different now. To make sure Green Arrow was okay, Batman said that he had slipped a tracking device into his hood and asked Green Arrow to take care of himself because he would return after Superman left. Meanwhile, the Man of Steel was still busy fighting Captain Atom in the middle of a snowfield. The two exchanged blows, but Captain Atom seemed to have the upper hand in dominating the fight. After a long battle, Captain Atom finally managed to hit Superman hard, and now the tables had turned. Captain Atom said that he had never fought Superman before because he was loyal to his country and had not received any orders to do so. The man who lived by the rules said that he would now change those rules by defeating Superman there. However, Wonder Woman arrived to thwart the plan by slashing Captain Atom's neck with her sword. The attack did not succeed in decapitating Captain Atom and instead leaked the radiation inside him, which flowed rapidly like blood. Because Captain Atom could not stop the radiation from flowing rapidly from his body, he had to make a choice before he exploded with a force equivalent to 10 tons of nuclear bombs. Captain Atom said that he could either release Superman and leave, or explode there with them. However, this was certainly contrary to Captain Atom's principles, so he planned to take Superman with him to explode and die together. After hearing this, Superman tried to break free from Captain Atom's grip by crushing his hand, but it was futile because Captain Atom said with full awareness, "You can't hurt me, I'm already dead." With the last of his energy, Captain Atom flew Superman into space, followed by Wonder Woman behind them. The radiation in Captain Atom's body flowed more rapidly as he carried Superman into space, while Wonder Woman was unable to keep up with Captain Atom's flying speed, causing her to fall far behind. Superman, who appeared helpless, also tried to fight Captain Atom with his eyes until he finally exploded violently, destroying himself in outer space. Wonder Woman, who was far behind them, was also affected, being thrown violently back to the North Pole. Some time ago, Captain Atom exploded alongside Superman with a blast equivalent to 7 megatons above the Earth's surface. He was assigned to do so when the opportunity arose, and when that opportunity came, Captain Atom failed to carry out his mission to kill the Man of Steel. Even in his dying state, Superman was still able to fly quickly to the North Pole to check on Wonder Woman, who was in critical condition. Superman immediately contacted the Watchtower to inform them that they had to evacuate Wonder Woman immediately, and Cyborg, who answered the call, said that Flash was on his way there. Upon arriving at the scene, Flash was confused to see Superman and Wonder Woman in such a battered state. Superman explained that Captain Atom, working with the government and Batman, had planned to kill him, but Flash found this hard to believe, as did Superman, who was his old friend. Superman said that Wonder Woman needed medical attention immediately, but he himself refused to be examined before finding out about his parents. After entrusting Flash with Wonder Woman's safety, Superman went to his fortress, which was not far away. He broke through the fortress's ice wall and ordered Green Arrow, who was confused at the time, to stay away from his parents. Mrs. Kent immediately approached Superman because she was very worried about her son, who had arrived in a disheveled state. Superman explained that the US government was trying to kill him and asked Green Arrow if he knew about it. Very nervously, Green Arrow explained that he only knew a little about what they were doing at that time, while thinking of another plan to escape. However, the super pill there caught Green Arrow's attention, so he made small talk in order to take the pill. Superman immediately destroyed the pill before Green Arrow could touch it. He looked very angry as he insisted that Green Arrow should not touch it. To keep Superman from suspecting his plan, Green Arrow aimed his arrow at Superman even though he knew it was useless. However, Green Arrow's plan immediately failed completely because he released the arrow, which hit Superman and then bounced off Mr. Kent. This immediately ignited Superman's anger, and he immediately slapped Green Arrow hard in the face, throwing him into another room. In the midst of his attempt to remain conscious, Green Arrow began to calculate the speed of the arrow, which had once reached 1.2 kilometers. Green Arrow knew that even if he managed to reach that speed, he still wouldn't be able to hurt the Man of Steel. However, Green Arrow still aimed his arrow at Superman, who was raging at that moment, not to hurt him, but to send a message to Batman, who was outside. With his killing instinct at its peak, Superman didn't care about the arrow flying right next to him. His only goal at that moment was to show that this time he would not hold back, even though the person in front of him was a friend who brought up old memories. On the other hand, Batman, Black Canary, and Catwoman were standing outside waiting for Green Arrow's arrival. Hope was lost for Catwoman, but not for Green Arrow's lover, who was still faithfully waiting in the cold polar air. In the midst of despair, Batman suddenly saw a signal from the tracking device he had previously planted on Green Arrow's hood coming out of the fort. They rushed to the tracking device without caring about what would happen to them. They managed to find Green Arrow, but not Oliver Queen. It turned out that the reason Green Arrow shot his arrow outside was to send what Batman had been looking for all this time, namely Superman's super pill. Batman seemed quite satisfied with what he had found, but that was not the case for Black Canary. Although Batman was still optimistic about waiting for Green Arrow, Black Canary knew that it was the last day she would see her lover shoot his arrows. Green Arrow could now only feel the blows Superman was unleashing, because he had lost control of himself. The mouth that used to call out the name Pretty Bird can no longer say anything because Superman has destroyed it. However, Green Arrow's heart can still call out Dinah's name and even apologize because they didn't have more time. The one thing Oliver Queen remembers before Superman takes his life is Dinah, the prettiest girl in the whole damn world. Superman, still burning with rage, continued to beat Green Arrow even though he was already dead. Mrs. Kent knew that her words alone would not be enough to stop Superman, so she took one of the super pills as it was the only way. After successfully stopping Superman, he finally came to his senses and stopped raging. But it was only temporary because Superman suddenly panicked when he realized that one of his super pills was missing. On the other hand, Batman and his team had successfully returned to headquarters. Although they got what they were looking for, it came at the cost of two of their members, Captain Atom and Green Arrow. Black Canary, who was very sad at the time, couldn't even answer Huntress's questions about the whereabouts of the two superheroes. Batman could only explain that Superman was not the same man they once knew, so he asked them all to go into hiding because Superman would come after them. Meanwhile, Batman planned to return to the Batcave so he could analyze the pill and recreate it. Batman was convinced that this was the only way they could defeat Superman. However, Catwoman disagreed because she was afraid that Superman would come after him at the Batcave, and Batman was aware of this. At the same time, Superman, who realizes that one of his pills is missing, feels that he must stop Batman immediately. This angers Mr. Kent because Superman has ignored him while he is injured. Superman argues that he doesn't have time for that, but Mr. Kent disagrees, as does his biological father, who is present in hologram form. Sadness begins to show on Jor-El's face when he finds out that his son has killed someone. Superman says he did it because they hurt Diana, also known as Wonder Woman, and tried to kill him. Superman says he had no choice at the time, but his father disagrees, feeling that there is always a choice. Back to Batman, he explained to Catwoman that he only needed a moment to analyze the pill. Catwoman told Batman that he was not alone, so he might need their help. Catwoman insisted that she would not let Batman go alone because she knew that Superman could easily destroy the Dark Knight. She asked Batman to stop showing off his ego and let her help him at that moment. Without saying anything, Batman passionately kissed Catwoman and apologized while spraying her with anesthetic. Huntress said that this would definitely upset Catwoman, but Batman preferred Catwoman to live, even if she was upset, rather than die with him. Back to Superman. Mr. Kent advised his son that Green Arrow used to be his good friend and that none of this was his fault. However, Superman said that he didn't mean to do this because all he was trying to do was protect his father. Superman also knew that this wasn't Green Arrow's fault, but rather the fault of his old friend, Batman. Superman blamed Batman for all of this because he had allowed the Joker to live, who ultimately took Lois from his life. He also blamed Batman for opposing him because he was trying to stop a war that had taken many lives. However, Jor-El does not blame Batman, who is only defending humanity to stay on the right path. Mrs. Kent also tries to remind Superman that Batman is his friend and begs him not to kill his old friend. After hearing so much advice from his 3 parents, Superman finally chose to go and stop Batman from carrying out his plan. Mrs. Kent could only apologize to Jor-El for trying to raise his son, while Jor-El apologized for releasing his son into their world. Even though he was being hunted by Superman, Batman still dared to show himself at the headquarters, which was definitely the first place Superman would go, just to analyze the super pill. Batman looked very focused on analyzing it until he heard someone tell him that the Man of Steel had come to the Batcave. Batman was immediately surprised to hear this because he couldn't believe that anyone could break into his network. The mysterious person told Batman to leave, but Batman refused because his mission was not yet complete. Therefore, Batman would remain there, even if his life was at stake. When Superman arrived, Batman did not panic at all because he knew that this would definitely happen. Superman arrived and said, "I took away all the madmen of Gotham, but I left the original, and like them, like all of your insane reflections, you'd see this world burn." To buy time, Batman responded by saying that Superman was delusional. Superman got angry and grabbed Batman's collar, warning him to watch his words. Superman didn't come to make peace, but to end all this chaos. Batman reignited Superman's anger by saying that he couldn't do it. He knew that if Superman wanted to kill him, he would have already done so with the laser in his eyes. To divert Superman's anger, Batman played with the Man of Steel's mind by asking if the blood on his hands belonged to Oliver Queen, also known as Green Arrow. He also reminded Superman that Ollie was their most ethical and loving friend, so Batman challenged him to explain to Black Canary why Ollie had to die. Batman said he knew why Superman had come to him because he had seen this before. Batman ignited Superman's anger by saying, "You think I can stop you, and somewhere deep down, you want me to." After listening to Batman's incessant ranting, Superman finally got fed up and threw him very hard. However, Batman was still able to get up to continue the mind game he had been playing. Batman knew that he couldn't defeat Superman, so he said that he wouldn't fight him. And if he could defeat Superman, then the only path Batman would take was to kill him. But Batman knew one thing that set them apart. He was not a killer like Superman. After saying that, Batman moved on to the next phase of his mind game by playing a video of Clark and Lois's wedding. In the video, Clark, also known as Superman, promised that he would always love and protect Lois for the rest of his life. Batman then uses this to mess with Superman's mind, who is unaware that he has fallen into Batman's mind game. Superman can only fight back by blaming Batman for what happened and arguing that he did all this for his beloved wife. Batman refutes this by saying that Superman stopped doing things for Lois the moment she died. Lois's death had affected his relationship with Batman and caused him to lose the humanity that had grown within him. Superman finally got fed up with Batman lecturing him and asked him to come out of hiding. However, Batman had just started the real game, in which he would attack Superman using ultrasonic sounds that only bats could hear. Because Superman can hear sounds of any frequency, his ears were tortured by the sound echoing throughout the room. Batman quickly moved to take the super pill that had been analyzed. However, his efforts were in vain because Superman had already destroyed the source of the sound and quickly stopped Batman before he could take the super pill. Superman said that he did not come to kill his former friend, but he came to destroy Batman so that he could not hurt him and the world he protects. With full awareness, Superman lifted Batman's body and broke his spine without caring about his screams. On that day, Superman not only broke Batman's spine, but he also broke the bond of friendship they had long cultivated. After crippling Batman, Superman left his friend with a disappointed look on his face, apologizing for what he had done. Superman felt that Batman was too dangerous, so he had no choice but to do what he did. When he saw that the pill had been 100% analyzed, Batman tried to get up to take it, but Superman ordered him not to get up because he had broken 2 of his lumbar vertebrae, and he also planned to take Batman to be detained with the other Gotham criminals. However, he continued to try to get up, which annoyed Superman, and he stepped on him to keep him lying there. Superman tells Batman that his struggle is over and he must stop fighting him, but Superman forgets that Batman has not been trying to fight him because he only wants to distract Superman from the pill he has finished analyzing. Upon realizing this, Superman immediately panics and asks Batman what he is doing. Batman admits that he can now make the pill to counterbalance the power Superman is trying to build. Superman immediately became emotional and asked Batman where he had uploaded it and who had access to it. He pressed Batman's helpless back to torture him, so that he would answer his question. Even though he was in tremendous pain, Batman was still able to play with Superman's mind by saying that he now dared to torture him for the sake of a greater good. Without realizing it, Batman's words were true, so Superman immediately released his grip on Batman's back. Superman said he didn't mean to do it, and Batman agreed because he knew Superman would blame others for his actions, which was how Superman justified his cruelty all this time. This is what makes Batman admit that Superman is no longer a hero, but just a thug. In the midst of this dilemma, Alfred suddenly comes from behind, grabs Superman's shoulder, and calls his full name. Without further ado, Alfred, who has taken the super pill, immediately headbutts Superman, breaking his nose. Alfred said he was very disappointed in Superman and beat him up badly. With his last punch, Alfred emphasized to Superman that he must not hurt his family anymore. After beating Superman up, Alfred got up and carried Batman away. Alfred said he had brought everything they needed, so there was nothing else worth taking from there. The next day, Superman appeared in public at a hearing held by the UN, accompanied by other members of the Justice League. Superman loudly declared that Bruce Wayne was a terrorist who threatened their way of life, and explained that Batman had stolen a very powerful weapon and planned to use it against them. For this reason, Superman promised that from now on they would protect everyone from the terror that Batman would carry out so that they would not have to fear it. Superman also said that they would always monitor any crime around the world because Superman believed in Lois's words that every crime would always be exposed no matter how well it was hidden. Superman then introduced the team he had built to everyone with the aim of exposing all of Batman's evil deeds and anyone who was with him. Superman still holds fast to Lois's words about saving the world, so he concluded his speech by saying that he would make it happen no matter the cost. And that's the full story of Injustice Year One. From the tragic moment that shattered Superman's world to the rise of his regime and the clash with Batman, this series shows just how fragile the line between hero and tyrant can be. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to Panelix, and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next breakdowns of epic comic universes. What do you think? Could Superman have chosen a different path, or was this always inevitable? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let's discuss.